We were talking some World Cup before we got on the air. We'll get Nick Frazier's expert opinion about everything we've seen so far. But big news last night as the Brendan Soresby saga ended just as fast as it began. In 8 days, we saw so much chaos around the Texas Tech football program and Brendan Soresby, and it comes to an end last night as Soresby decides that he is going to enter the NFL supplemental draft, and he is going to withdraw his lawsuit, therefore making him ineligible to play college football. That was part of the, I guess, dance that they had to do because the supplemental draft is for guys who are ineligible to play college football. Judge said he was eligible. He withdraws the lawsuit. So now we wait. Late July, we will find out if and when a team is going to bid a pick on him. But the good news is overall from this, Brendan Soresby is not going to be playing college football in 2026.
The integrity of the game stays intact for the most part, I would say. If you're the Texas judge, you got to be like kicking yourself, right? You kind of look like a fool right now.
Well, so Parker has told us that this is a guy that they pulled out of retirement. Like he was retired. And once the first judge recused himself from it, they asked him to come in and adjudicate the case. And so it's like, I guess his reputation, he doesn't really need it all that much anymore. But yeah, I think a lot of people made themselves look stupid in the last week, namely Texas Tech University, the president, the athletic director, Joey McGuire, like a whole lot of PR, disasters for absolutely nothing, where Brendan Soresby is not going to play for the team anyway. It got too difficult, right, for this to continue. And I think Brendan Soresby realized that he was going to do more harm than good for himself, more harm than good for Texas Tech by playing this year and fighting this and trying to maintain his eligibility. And I think this is the right decision for everybody involved, but it's not like people are going to forget the way Texas Tech acted over the last week about this situation.
No, they were definitely trying to, tippy-toe around the entire subject of the Soresby lawsuit because like the AD mentioned in his statement, we did not file the lawsuit and we are not funding the lawsuit, just making sure that they can kind of keep their foot in the door, but not fully into the conversation. And again, they were like, oh, we're just here to support Soresby in his time of need, XYZ after that. And then I read something last night that obviously they've parted ways, but Soresby gets to keep that $4 to $5 million.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to get the full amount. They're not going to ask back for anything that he already got. I don't know how much he's already been paid out and how much of that was contingent on like him actually being on the field. But yes, Texas Tech, at least, yeah, I mean, I guess that is, I don't know if I want to call it the right thing, but it's a nice thing to do for somebody to pay that out and not ask for it back, even though he's not actually going to play for your university. But yeah, it was a mess for a week, for 8 days. And I even said yesterday, as we were kind of wrapping up the show, that I did not think this would have any chance of being wrapped up before the Big 12 meetings in the media days in July. And never in my wildest dreams did I think Brendan Soresby was just going to say, you know what, I'm going to go to the supplemental draft. I figured it was going to be like, hey, I got what I wanted and we're going to fight this. And if it ends up that I have to ride the bench for a year, that's fine. I'll still get drafted somewhere. But respect to Brendan Soresby. I don't know if this was fully his decision or fully Texas Tech's decision or a little bit of both. But I think both realized that there wasn't really a way forward. The college football playoff, Big 12, the NCAA, all of their opponents were coming after them. There was no way that this was going to work out in the favor of Texas Tech and Brendan Soresby if he actually played this year.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to the conversation we all had last Tuesday, and that was the college football playoffs eye test when it comes to Texas Tech. We could probably leave them out of the conversation if that's the case. Maybe Soresby caught wind of that. Maybe Texas Tech caught wind of that because everybody knows how much money is involved with the college football playoff, not just football, but also baseball, softball, basketball, because there was that entire wave of conversations of Nebraska and Georgia leaving them off their schedules going forward. So you wonder is that going to be a huge detriment to their athletic department? And maybe that was a little bit of what caught wind for Soresby and also the office as well.
I think for Brendan Soresby, you have to look at it and say, I'm hurting my teammates if I'm on this team. Yeah, maybe I'll get to play, but guess what? If the Big 12 bans Texas Tech from the Big 12 championship game, and the college football playoff is looking for an excuse to leave you out just because of him, you're hurting your teammates. And also, the level of uncertainty for Brendan Soresby, I'm sure, was a large factor in this. Of you have to enter your name for the supplemental draft by next Monday, June 22nd. That's the deadline. You have to make a decision by that point. And with all of the challenges coming to this ruling from the district judge in Lubbock, there's a decent chance that either the appeals court overturns it, the Big 12's punishment leads to Texas Tech deciding not to play him. There were so many different ways that he could have been kept off the field. I think it made sense for him to take the cleaner path, which is, you know what? I made a mistake. I'm not going to be able to play college football the way I wanted to this year. Let's go to the NFL supplemental draft and see if I can rebuild my career there rather than try and fight through all this legal red tape that he's going to face playing college football.
And also, too, like to the financial aspect of all this, with his exit fee that was, still in a lawsuit right now with Cincinnati, that's $1 million to the dot. If you're Soresby, you got to look at it from the perspective of how much, and again, we don't know the exact number for what he collected at Texas Tech before he stepped on the field. But if that's a total of a $5 million NIL deal and you at least get half of that before you step on the field, $2.5 million, just pay out that exit fee or whatever it is. Again, people are going to litigate and go back and forth with that, but just pay it off. You have $1.5 million left in your little college fund or whatever that is. And if somebody takes a pick on you, third or fourth round pick, you're going to get an NFL salary of like $800,000. So again, you're kind of equaling out the negatives in some aspects. So that's something to look at.
Yeah, no, that is true. I mean, he's made some money during his time in college, and we'll get into the supplemental draft too, but I think there's a decent chance that he's going to end up in a training camp this year with an opportunity to prove himself. Now, he's not going to be a starter this year, but he's going to get the opportunity to sit, hopefully deal with his mental health issues that Texas Tech has talked about a ton. And maybe next year he gets an opportunity to compete for a job. 5745 on the text line says, big Soresby guys, huh? I don't know if
anyone that
has anybody listened to our show that thinks we're big Soresby guys. I'm just saying, I didn't think that he was going to stand up and say, you know what, I'm just not going to play. I talked about last week about how this is like the NCAA is your parents. Like they've got no like legal, they can't send you to jail for not cleaning your room, but you're supposed to respect their authority. And if they punish you for not cleaning your room, you do it. That's kind of the analogy I made. You're not going to get hauled off in a cop car because you didn't do your chores. I view this too as like, were you ever, when you were a kid, like you got into your mom wants you to come to the store with her and you're complaining about it. You're like, oh, I just want to stay home. I want to stay home. And you're complaining. She's like, fine, you stay home, and gets all upset. And you're like, no, it's okay. I'll come with you. It's like, this is kind of how I see it with Brendan Soresby. It's like he got his way and then saw the reaction to it and was like, okay, fine. I'll just go to the supplemental draft. Like I didn't realize the backlash was going to be this bad. That's kind of how I view it with Brendan Soresby. Is he thought he knew what he wanted, and then he saw all of the hellstorm that rained down on Texas Tech and him over the last week, and he's like, you know what? The best thing for everybody is for me to just move on.
Yeah, again, it kind of comes down to greed a little bit. I don't know if it was fully the money that was involved with all this, because obviously we all know the draft is and basically look at college football. That is your resume to get into the NFL draft. Your stock goes super high, it goes super low. And I think for him, it was best to, like you said, part ways, go about your day. And it makes you wonder, did the guilt eat up at him, or was it the greed that like, all right, I think it's enough?
Yeah, I would guess there's some of both there. Like I'm sure there was some part of him that's like, hey, this probably isn't right. I shouldn't play. But it's also, you got to do what's best for your career. And with so little certainty over whether he would actually be able to play this year, I think it made sense for him to go into the supplemental draft. So Brendan Soresby is going to move on from college football. The college football world rejoices this morning because it was only going to get worse. The Big 12 was suing the Texas Attorney General and Texas Tech to try and enforce their bylaws. The NCAA was trying to overturn it. Who knows if the college football playoff would have let them in? It would have led to a whole bunch of chaos and confusion that we don't really need over something that should have been so common sense. You bet on the sport you play. You don't get to play that sport anymore. And I'm glad that it sorted itself on its own. There wasn't any long legal battle that we had to follow for the next month or two, but it's over. Brendan Soresby going to the NFL supplemental draft. And we'll talk about some teams that maybe could take a look at him and what the evaluation of him is as a quarterback. Could a team use a pretty high pick on Brendan Soresby coming up next month? 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to join the conversation, our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Matt in Nashville asks how much of that NIL is going to pay off gambling debts. I don't know if he was in debt. Like, I assume that's kind of a joke there, but like
a joke. And also that is illegal.
Cannot
do that.
Right. I don't think like Brendan Soresby was, dealing with bookies and stuff like that. Like, I mean,
if that's the case, there will be a mobster movie.
Right.
Like, it's not 1992
right.
anymore.
Like, I think he's, he's going through what everybody has said is that he was like Venmoing people to bet for him because that could be a whole other legal thing. I don't know.
That's a digital bookie sort of like that.
Right.
Again, that's another.
So maybe he owes his friend some money or something like that. I don't know. But
is there interest involved with that?
And see, this is something that the NFL is going to have to dig into. You've got a month now to do your homework. If you want to invest a pick in Brendan Soresby, you've got to figure out whether there's another shoe that's going to drop in this situation, whether that's, did he do something illegal? Or is there more that we haven't heard of yet? Before? I don't know, but it makes this draft process. It's not just about what can he do on the field. It's what is he bringing into our building that we don't really know about at this point.
So a question to this.
Yeah.
If there is not a franchise out there in the NFL that does not pick him, does he now resort to the CFL or UFL at this point? Like what's the deal?
Louisville King legend.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, would he just become an undrafted free agent and be free to sign with anybody? I don't know. I'll do some research on that during the break here. We'll talk about the supplemental draft, what that could look like for Brendan Soresby. And are there some teams that stand out that could look to take a chance on the former Cincinnati quarterback? 615-737-1025 off and running on this Tuesday morning. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up here on 1025 The Game. Today, the Nashville Sounds take on the Memphis Redbirds. First pitch is at 7:05, and you can catch all of the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks Family Leisure, Maple Street Biscuit Company, Mad Fireworks, and Social Cantina. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt alongside you on this Tuesday, reacting to the news from last night. Brendan Soresby has decided to withdraw his lawsuit that had granted him eligibility under the temporary restraining order, and he will enter the NFL supplemental draft, which will be held next month. Looking at the schedule, it looks like there's an opportunity for him to hold a pro day coming up in early July and show off for NFL teams. And then the draft would happen in late July. Teams would bid picks. So it's not like you go through and teams pass over and over and over until somebody finally picks them. You bid a round pick, and you see if you have the highest round pick, then you end up taking him, and he would be your player. But you'd have to give up that pick in next year's draft. And if multiple teams bid the same round pick, there is a lottery system that separates who would get them based on last year's record. The teams are split into three groups between teams that had 6 or less losses, the rest of the non-playoff teams, and then playoff teams. And there's a lottery system for each pool that decides what the order is. I hope that makes about as much sense as it can.
I love this.
So teams will bid a round pick on Brendan Soresby, and whoever has the highest pick, either in a round all by themselves or within a round, will get Brendan Soresby on their team. Simple enough?
Yeah, it is. That's fantastic.
Before we talk about just the evaluation of the player in general, do you think that this whole situation is going to tank what his draft stock would have been? There are people who think he could be a top 10 pick in next year's draft if he had played at Texas Tech, be a first-round pick next year. I don't think there's anybody who's going to spend a first-round pick on Brendan Soresby, mostly just because of what he is on the field. You haven't seen enough during his time in college to say, yeah, that's worth a first-round pick in what's expected to be a pretty loaded draft next year. I think if you're looking at without, push the gambling stuff to the side, I think teams might be willing to spend a day 2 pick on Brendan Soresby in the supplemental draft. But you can't push the gambling stuff to the side. There is clearly a character concern, and is this going to linger onward? Is this something we're going to have to deal with for a long time concern that I think maybe puts him more in the 4th or 5th round type of range. But again, it's a game of chicken. That's what the supplemental draft is how high can you go or how low can you go and still get the player that you want?
Yeah, for Soresby's sake, in the realm of what potential draft pick, I was thinking in the window of 3 to 5, 3rd round to 5th round, in that kind of range.
Yeah.
Because like you said, there is a possibility he could be one of those kind of day 2 picks they give up for him. But just overall, the entire, I guess, look like a widescreen view of the Soresby situation. I could see maybe 1 or 2 teams, but not like 5 or 6. I can't get on board with a lot of teams being interested.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are going to be teams that throw a bid in and just say, if no one else goes higher than us, then great, we'll take him, but we're not going to be aggressive about it.
Right.
I heard Joe say the Titans should put a 5th round in. The Titans are one of the few teams that I'm like, yeah, you probably don't even need to consider putting it in. You've got Ward, Trubisky, Levis in that room already.
Don't forget about Hendon Hooker.
And
Vols
yeah, sure. Sorry, Vols. Hendon Hooker too.
It needs to be a team that feels comfortable redshirting him, but also has some question marks at their starting position. Like the Saints, for example. You feel good about Tyler Shuck right now, but if he were to go down with injury or something,
yeah,
you would throw Soresby in there. But maybe Houston gets involved. You got question marks with CJ Stroud. Maybe San Francisco, you're probably not going to start him over Brock Purdy, but he's still a little hazy there.
Right.
So I think it needs to be someone that you feel comfortable redshirting him behind, but also someone that you're not afraid to pull the plug on if it's necessary.
I think that's a perfect way to put it. I'm looking at the in-between teams here that might look at Brendan Soresby. I watched a video. Field Yates kind of went through who he thought could look into it, and the teams he mentioned were Jets, Browns, Dolphins, Cardinals, who, in my opinion, those are the 4 worst teams in the NFL. And I look at those teams and say, I think they've all already got a project quarterback that they're throwing out there this year. I don't know what the Browns are going to do. Maybe Deshaun Watson starts, but Browns have Shador Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
The Jets just drafted Cade Klubnik. The Cardinals just drafted Carson Beck. The Dolphins just spent a bunch of money on Malik Willis. Like, they've got these guys who are kind of lottery tickets, and it's like, if they work out, great. If not, no harm done. I don't really see them having a need to spend a pick when I think all of those teams have it in the back of their mind that our quarterback situation's not very good. We may end up taking one in the first round next year. So I don't know if they would want to go after Brendan Soresby. I'm looking at the teams that are kind of, as Connor said, like, you know, you don't have a solidified guy. You guys texted me last night, the Texans. Like,
that was Connor Newt.
Yeah, like Connor said, the Texans, and that's a team that I think might be a good fit for him. CJ Stroud obviously is the guy there right now, but with what you've seen and the decline the last 2 years, I don't think anybody feels super stable with CJ Stroud as the quarterback long-term there based on what you saw in the playoffs, especially last year. So Brendan Soresby could be a guy who is not going to threaten CJ Stroud in any way this year,
right?
But he becomes a lottery ticket backup plan that you have that say, hey, if CJ Stroud is not good this year, we've already got somebody in the building that we feel has potential that could end up being the next young quarterback for this franchise.
See, for me, I think Atlanta would be that team. Obviously, they have 2 left-handed quarterbacks, but minus that, that is an offense that has the weapons that could honestly flourish under a guy like Soresby in a year 2 or 3 if he does stay that long in the league. That, again, is very similar to the Houston Texans vibe. You don't really know what you have in CJ Stroud. Is he going to regress again? Same thing for Michael Penix, having the injury history. Is he going to regress? Is that going to mean Tua is going to have an opportunity in Atlanta? And is Tua going to regress from his time in Miami down to Atlanta? So you got to wonder, if that's the case, why not spend a 5th or 6th round pick in the supplemental draft on a guy like Soresby?
Yeah, and it's a game of chicken. How low can you go and still get the guy you want? So teams are going to have to weigh that of, hey, if we put a 4th in there, do we think there's a decent chance we get him? But can we guarantee we get him if we do a 3rd? Like, that's the kind of mindset that's going to be going on throughout these buildings. But there's so much that has to be sorted out here. Of course, you've got to do all your homework on the background. If there's legal trouble coming, like if he's going to get arrested, I don't know all the specifics of what he did and when he did it. Like, was he underage when he was gambling? And did he send money across state lines? Like, all of this is still out there. NFL teams are going to have to do their homework and make sure there's not, another shoe that's going to drop in this Brendan Soresby gambling scandal. Then you also have to look on the field and be like, all right, yeah, there's a lot of potential here. And I know scouts liked what they saw at Cincinnati, but it was potential, I think, is the word there. You didn't actually see it in college. Cincinnati was fine last year. He was fine at Cincinnati, but it's not like he was this superstar guy. So I think teams, I feel bad for the scouts. I saw somebody tweet this. It's like, scouts, this is like the 2 months that they've got off before college football season starts. And now these teams that might consider Soresby are going to have to go all in and make sure they're doing all their homework on whether this guy would be a good fit.
Yeah, right now, for me, Soresby, if I had to compare him to another quarterback in college football, and correct me if I'm wrong, like, I could be overstepping boundaries here. He, to me, is like the comparison of Lenore Sellers. Like, everybody sees the intangibles in this guy.
Yeah.
Definitely could be the creme de la creme, Heisman preseason favorite. And now, I mean, we all saw what happened last year with Sellers. Just didn't really live up to the expectation. Right. Kind of the same thing for me with Soresby. If he did play for Texas Tech, that to me would have been the same trajectory.
Yeah, that's why I think when you looked at like the way too early mock drafts, people had him going 8th or 15th. And I think that was projection on him having a big year at Texas Tech. He didn't have any year at Texas Tech. So you've got to go based on the knowledge that you have right now. And I think 3rd through 5th round is the range you said. I think that's right. Like, I think there may be a team that gets aggressive and says, if he ends up being a franchise quarterback, 3rd round pick isn't going to, that's a steal. But I think teams may also be scared that there may be more coming with the off the field stuff with Brendan Soresby that would make it like, all right, do we want to give up a 3rd round pick in next year's draft?
Now, if there is a team out there that does give up a 3rd round pick, let's say, for example, like a Houston or Atlanta, then if they are awarded Brendan Soresby and they have to give up that 3rd round pick, there are going to be people in that fan base that start to question that front office's decision.
Right.
Like, what are we doing? We already have enough quarterbacks.
Yeah.
We already have CJ Stroud. What are we doing?
Especially because it is, as of now, Brendan Soresby's the only player in this supplemental draft. So it's not like the NFL draft where, the Titans take Malik Willis and it's like there's another pick 15 or 10 minutes later. And it's like there's a reaction to it, but it kind of falls into just the wave of everything else that's going on during the NFL draft. This is one pick. One team is going to pick Brendan Soresby, and it's going to dominate the news cycle for that team for a little bit there. So you're right. It's like the front office is kind of going out on a limb by saying, we want this guy in our building, and we're going to give up X pick to make it happen. There's a lot that's going to go into it, and we are still about 5 or 6 weeks away from the supplemental draft. I don't think they've set a date on it yet, but late July is what we've been told, and Brendan Soresby officially is going to enter. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll get to some of your thoughts on this coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt. Breaking down the latest developments in the Brendan Soresby saga, which looks to be coming to a close. Not going to play college football this year, entering the NFL supplemental draft. Before we get back into that, though, Wawa has hooked us up. I being from Northern Virginia, we've had Wawa up there, and I used to love going there. The hoagies are the best at Wawa, by the way. So I am thrilled that Wawa has stopped by. They are opening in Clarksville on June 18th. That's Thursday. I mean, big thanks to the Wawa crew for coming in and hooking us up.
Look, they got a chocolate chip cookie the size of my face. Everybody knows I'm a big chocolate chip cookie guy. This right here, dip that in a little bit of coffee. Hands down the best cookie I've had in a while.
I got to say, the soft pretzels, too. Great. I was kind of overwhelmed out there with all the stuff that they had. It's like we got called out into the hallway, and it's like Wawa's in town, and they gave us sandwiches, snacks, drinks. I mean, and I'm excited. It's opening in Clarksville. I may have to make a trip up there this weekend. It's grand opening weekend, free coffee and hot beverages all weekend long.
I mean, I feel like I'm in hog heaven. As a kid, I grew up going to get coffee with my grandparents. They got the senior discount, free coffee. That's the American discount.
Well, guess what? It's for everybody up there in Clarksville this weekend.
Even better.
Any size fountain drink, 99 cents. Any short hoagie, $4, and 16-ounce smoothies, $3. So Wawa flying to Tennessee, opening his first store June 18th, 1290 Parkway Place in Clarksville. Get out there. We are thrilled that they are here with us today.
Those prices, you can't beat them.
No.
It's like the prices have never been low. Those prices are fantastic. I mean, seriously, if I'm trying to ball on a budget, you go to Wawa. And again, the wonderful pretzel. It's the infinity pretzel, the flavor that lasts forever.
I know.
mean,
I kind of want to go to break again so I can have more of it. But anyway, we'll
do that.
And they were telling me about this diet iced tea. Apparently, that's their top drink at Wawa.
It looks great.
I asked them, is it like unsweet tea? They go, no. I was like, interesting.
So it's iced tea, like sweet tea, but no sugar.
Even better. Hang on. Let me just give a little swig.
Yeah, there we go. Live taste test.
You're going to have to do the talking. We're eating.
I know. Yeah, you guys are eating. Maybe I'll just
hold up now. That's got a little lemon flavor to it. That is smooth. I'm in for this. You could add that to literally anything. I mean, wow.
I love it.
And I'm not over exaggerating. I'm being serious. I'm a foodie.
I know. I feel like it sounds like we're over exaggerating, but no, like we went out into the hallway and they had a full spread out there. They had t-shirts. Like we're all in on Wawa.
I need to go back and get. I will never pass.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true. And again, like I'm from Northern Virginia where we had Wawas everywhere. And coming down here, like there's some fine gas station convenience stores, but Wawa is a step above all of them. So I'm excited. Clarksville, doors open Thursday at 8 a.m. And if you want a free t-shirt, the first 250 customers get them. So ribbon cutting at 8:30 on Thursday out there in Clarksville.
Nice. Let's go. Shout out to Clarksville.
Yeah, we will. We'll talk more about Wawa throughout the show because we're thrilled that they came out here. But I did want to get to some of your thoughts on the text line about the Brendan Soresby situation. Nevada Josh is a little confused about the supplemental draft. He says, what is the purpose of a supplemental draft and what makes them decide when to do it? So basically, there's only a draft if there's somebody who wants to enter the draft. So there hasn't been a draft since 2013. The last time a player was picked was 2019. Jalen Thompson was the last player who was picked in a supplemental draft back in 2019 by the Cardinals. But there are plenty of names that you would recognize who have been supplemental draft picks. Josh Gordon was a second-round supplemental pick by the Cleveland Browns. Terrell Pryor by the Raiders in the third round back in 2011. Ahmad Brooks in the third round in 2006. The most famous one, of course, is Chris Carter, who was a fourth-round supplemental pick by the Philadelphia Eagles. Ate too much during the break there. This was 1987. Not only Chris Carter in the supplemental draft that year, but Brian Bosworth too.
The Boss
was a first-round pick by the Seattle Seahawks. So that's the supplemental draft. If a player is ruled ineligible or kicked off his team before the season starts, you get the opportunity to enter the NFL supplemental draft. So with Brendan Soresby entering it, that means there will be the first draft since 2023. And Soresby, he's going to get picked. Somebody is going to take a chance on him. The question is just how early and which team feels like it's worthwhile for them to make that move. I think there are a lot of teams that can look at this as a lottery ticket, and you may be getting a discount on Brendan Soresby based on where he was projected to go in the 2027 draft. But it's also like you're trying to get the most value that you possibly can, and you don't know what other teams are going to do. I wonder if there's going to be a team that feels like Brendan Soresby can be their franchise quarterback down the road, and they make a move for him. That would probably, to me, that would mean going second or third round pick.
Look, if Minnesota didn't have Kyler Murray and JJ McCarthy, I would see Minnesota getting a second or third round pick for a guy like Brendan Soresby in the supplemental draft. I mean, I could see it. I know, like you mentioned earlier with Cade Klubnik and the Jets, they've already picked him. But if I'm the Jets, use a third on a guy like that. There are teams out there that are in need of a quarterback of the caliber of Brendan Soresby. Like you look at Seattle, for example. Yes, they have Sam Darnold, but after that, you have out of Alabama, I'm forgetting his name,
Jalen Milroe.
Jalen Milroe.
Milroe,
Thank you
yeah.
so much. It just after that, what do you got? Not much.
Drew Lock.
What about Indianapolis? Where would you put a team like that?
Actually, that's a
Yeah.
good thought, because with Daniel Jones, you just don't know what he's going to be coming off the torn Achilles, and he's only on a 2-year deal, so it's not like you have him locked in long term. Anthony Richardson's not going to be on your team much longer. Unless you really believe in Riley Leonard, like Brendan Soresby's probably an upgrade of what you have in terms of a young quarterback. I wouldn't hate that for the Colts if they were to make a move to go get Brendan Soresby.
It just makes the AFC South even more fun to watch.
Out of the teams that I mentioned that are like the bad teams who could be looking to draft a quarterback next year, I think the Dolphins could make the most sense. Because like for the Jets and the Cardinals, you just took mid-round quarterbacks in April. Cade Klubnik, Carson Beck. I don't know if I necessarily see the point in adding Brendan Soresby to that room when you already kind of have a guy who's been in there for the offseason workouts. Adding another, unless you really believe in him, adding another guy in there doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But for the Dolphins, like Malik Willis, I don't know how long he's going to be the quarterback there. And Quinn Ewers, I think, is their backup. So I wouldn't hate it for the Dolphins. Looking at some other teams, there's not a ton that like make a ton of sense for Brendan Soresby, which is why this is going to be interesting, because I think there's a handful of teams that you could go and say, yeah, they might want to go take a chance on him. I wonder if there's like a surprise team that could come out of the woodwork, like the Dallas Cowboys. Like, do you get a project? You did it with Tony Romo with Dak Prescott. You brought in a guy who mid-round pick, you said, we're going to let this guy develop, and he turned into a franchise quarterback for you. Maybe you add Brendan Soresby behind him and have a succession plan if Dak Prescott doesn't continue to grow.
What about this? Tampa Bay.
That one makes sense too.
With the whole Baker Mayfield saga in the contract,
right?
Are they going to extend him? Is he going to long-term, short-term? What is it? Why not go grab a Brendan Soresby in a third or fourth round supplemental draft?
Yeah.
That entire division feels like they could take a chance.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. Carolina behind Bryce Young. That would make sense. You mentioned Atlanta. The Saints, I think the Saints would be the least likely out of those four, but it's not impossible. I just think with Tyler Shuck there, a little redundant to bring in Brendan Soresby. But lots of good options. I think there are a lot of teams that may say, no, just not worth it to us. I would say the Titans would fall in that category. You've got a crowded quarterback room. You need as many picks as you can get. I don't even think there's a reason to bid a pick for Brendan Soresby if you're the Titans. But there are a handful of teams, including, I think my favorite two that we've brought up are the two in the AFC South, Houston and Indianapolis. I think it would make sense for both those teams.
I mean, would Jacksonville kind of fall in that conversation now that we're just in AFC South conversations there? I mean,
does Jacksonville have like
I understand they spent a lot of money on Trevor Lawrence. I understand that they think he is the franchise quarterback of the future. But with the production out of that team the last couple of seasons, it would draw concern a little bit, right?
Yeah, I mean,
he had kind of a career year last year, though.
Yeah,
it's fair.
But knowing that Brendan Soresby, he's not playing this year. He would be getting a redshirt year. The backup in Jacksonville's Nick Mullins. And then you've got Carter Bradley and who knows?
Glennon.
No. Joey Aguilar.
That's right. Jacksonville. I forgot he's in their camp.
Yeah. Jaguar. That's right.
Yes, Jaguar. Yes. Honestly, out of the teams in the AFC South of who it would make the most sense to bring in Brendan Soresby, I would say the Titans are last.
I agree.
Because you already have a young quarterback you're developing. The other three, it's like, yeah, there are question marks about your current quarterback. Maybe bringing in a project who's going to take a couple of years would make sense. Not saying the Titans couldn't do it, but I just think given the crowded nature of your quarterback room and you have a second-year quarterback already, probably not.
And if Brennan Soresby really loves football like everybody is in the NFL, his back's against the wall. He has really nothing to fall back on because of the situation he's put himself in. So he's going to be competing for a spot regardless.
Yeah.
Which would put a lot of pressure on those starting quarterbacks, like you mentioned with CJ Stroud, and you guys have both mentioned with Daniel Jones.
Brennan Soresby entering the NFL supplemental draft after withdrawing his lawsuit. The saga is over. It was a crazy week, but it is finally over. Soresby going to go to the NFL and will not play college football this year. We'll take any of your thoughts on that situation. Wrap up hour number 1 coming up next. We'll get into the Titans coming up at 10 as mandatory minicamp starts today over at Vanderbilt Health Football Center. We'll get into all of it coming up. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newton, next man up. 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5, The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt alongside you. Finishing up the first hour of the show, we've been reacting to the news that Brendan Soresby not going to be playing college football this upcoming season. Although he got the temporary injunction last week, he's decided to part ways with Texas Tech and enter the NFL supplemental draft, given the backlash over the last 8 days following the decision from the Lubbock court judge. Nevada Josh says, how much do you want to bet the Browns are going to put a bid in the supplemental draft? It wouldn't shock me if they put a bid in, but the only coach or front office person that I've seen publicly comment on this was Todd Monken, and he basically said, we don't want to get involved in it.
They got Pavia, so it doesn't matter, right? Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking Jesse Minter. Excuse me. Yeah.
Todd
Monken's with Cleveland.
Monken is now with Cleveland. Yes, he was with Baltimore. That. Yes. He came out and said, I don't know what Andrew's thoughts on it, Andrew Berry, their GM, but he said, in my mind, that's not something we would want to get involved in. So I'm going to say maybe no on the Browns. It would publicly show a little bit of a disconnect between your coaching staff and your front office, as we've already saw that last year they drafted Shedeur Sanders, even though Kevin Stefanski didn't want to coach him. So we'll see. But I would guess,
Gabriel.
Yeah, I would guess the Browns probably don't put a bid in, but maybe.
Never know. The Browns, literally, they're a giant question mark that you just don't know what they're going to do. I mean, I'd say the beauty of the NFL, but also the downfall of the NFL is because you want a little structure where there's, quality competition across the league. But when you have a franchise like the Browns that they don't really have a true direction, then you have question marks around that.
Yeah. I mean, Cleveland, I guess Cleveland is the one place where you're like, they're always going to do what's probably not best based on what we've seen.
I mean, you get rid of Myles Garrett in a trade and you get Jared Verse back. So you wonder if you can start building around a guy like Jared Verse on the defensive side of the football. And then you already have 3 quarterbacks to choose from. They're slowly building that offense. They have Isaiah Bond. They have Jerry Jeudy, is that right?
Yeah, Judy's still there.
Yep. So they grabbed a few other Casey Concepcion.
Yeah, they drafted Concepcion and Denzel Boston this year.
They have a solid young wide receiver core they can build around with those young quarterbacks. Now you have to solidify that offensive line that a lot of those guys were aging and they got rid of last year.
Yeah, I want to say they swapped out all 5 offensive linemen this offseason. Yeah. They have 2 first-round picks. They don't really have a solution at quarterback right now. I think they're looking to address quarterback in 2027 rather than spend a pick in the supplemental draft.
Right.
Matthew in Nashville takes me where I wanted to end on this subject. He says, 2 questions. What did y'all make of Cody Campbell's defiant rant he posted yesterday on Twitter in response to Soresby applying for the supplemental draft? And what was the point of all of it? Texas Tech is now a villain of college athletics, and Soresby will never play a snap for them. Yes. I mean, that's kind of the last 8 days. The only real consequence that came out of this is everybody views Texas Tech differently.
Mm-hmm.
I said it when it happened that Texas Tech should be a good story of the NIL era, that if you have the right investment in your program, you can go compete at the highest level. And they've ruined all that with the way they've handled this. I mean, the Joey McGuire with he didn't murder anybody, and the 22-minute long video of them justifying their actions and all of that. The only point or the only real result from the past 8 days that changed anything is people view Texas Tech differently as a team that will pretty much do anything in the pursuit of trying to win football games.
It kind of goes for kind of majority of all the Texas teams in college football because of all the oil money that's involved and all the NIL, all the resources they have in that state. I think it kind of puts an asterisk next to not only Texas Tech, but teams like SMU, who in years past have had the death penalty back in the 80s. So you look at that, and then you bring in teams like Texas and Texas A&M. And I don't know. To me, I just think it's not only just Texas Tech, it's just all the teams in Texas to me.
Yeah.
And I hate to conglomerate all of them, but,
right. You see Sark, his comments yesterday?
No.
He said, who knows, by the time Joey McGuire's done at Texas Tech, maybe Patrick Mahomes will be playing for them again. And, the petty back and forth between Texas Tech and Texas has been funny. With Texas Tech now, I don't think Will Hammond's a horrible quarterback that they've got, but clearly their ceiling is probably about the same as it was last year. I think they're going to be a team that can win the Big 12 and is going to be the best team in the Big 12, but I don't see that team going in competing for a national championship. I think when they meet the big boys out of the Big 10 and the SEC, they're going to be outmatched again. We saw it. They didn't score a point against Oregon last year. So I do think that they're going to be a good team again. They're going to be in the college football playoff conversation. But I mean, for them, Soresby was kind of supposed to be the missing piece that could elevate their offense. Will Hammond, I don't think, is going to do that.
So you don't think Mitch Griffiths gets the start, the senior quarterback?
No, Hammond is apparently the guy who
Okay.
they're looking at. Maybe there's a competition during fall camp, but and it sucks for Texas Tech, right?
Yeah.
It does. And if they had handled it differently, I think everybody would have kind of sided with Texas Tech and said, "Man, that sucks. You went out and you felt like you had the quarterback, and he made some mistakes that didn't allow him to be that missing piece for your team." But because they tried to play him, it's like, and they can hide behind all we were doing was following the instructions of a legal proceeding in a court. But you know right from wrong, and you know what should be done in terms of helping the sport of college football and all sports as a whole, and you didn't do it. And so that's, as Matthew and Nashville said, what's the point of all of it? Texas Tech is now a villain of college athletics, and Soresby will never play in a Red Raiders uniform.
No. You'll probably get a few fans here and there that buy the Soresby jerseys online. And I don't know if that goes to his NIL collective yet or anything like that, but you're going to have a few Texas Tech fans that kind of rebel and say, yeah, we're still going to buy our Soresby gear for Texas Tech.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that's the.
I'm sure those will be like novelty jerseys down the road.
Yeah. Everybody loves those type of jerseys, right? Especially if they're throwbacks or alternates.
Right. I mean, it'll be 15 years down the road. You'll be at a Texas Tech game and see somebody wearing a Soresby jersey, and you're like, really?
But I think at this point, now that we all know the future of Soresby and now that he's headed to the supplemental draft, Texas Tech can kind of move on from a scheduling purpose, meaning like looking at their TV schedule, they only had 4 nationally televised games. Now they can go on and say, all right, majority of our conference games, because it's the Big 12, will be streamed on ESPN Plus. But after that, if we actually become a pretty decent team after week 4, week 5, we can now be flexed into some of these national games. So again, I think it's a good thing that they both have parted ways, because like we mentioned at the start of the show, is that it was hindering the program. It was hindering their opportunities to get true exposure for the brand.
Right. And you saw teams, not just in football, but athletic departments say, we're not going to schedule Texas Tech. I wonder if some of that starts to subside now that Soresby's gone. But I don't know. I think you're not going to look at Texas Tech the same after this whole situation over the last week.
Do you think, this is just a question out of left field, but do you think Mahomes gave him a little phone call or text, give him a little advice?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good question.
His logo's on those jerseys.
Exactly.
That's bad representation.
Somebody put out this morning, Dylan Raiola has the chance to do the funniest thing ever. Obviously the portal's closed, and I think they've locked down the ability to make post-portal moves, but how funny would that be? Dylan Raiola says, guess what? I'm going to Texas Tech.
Wasn't that a thing this summer? And Joey McGuire said, yeah, we have no interest in him.
I think it was. I think it was.
Could you imagine if he did end up transferring to Texas Tech and pay homage to Brent Soresby, start doing the money man Zelsa after he scores touchdowns? That would be
rain, baby.
That would be the craziest thing in college football.
Things movies are made about.
Yes.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. Brendan Soresby not going to play college football this season, and everyone is thrilled about it. He will enter the NFL supplemental draft, and we'll have to see how that plays out and which team thinks that he would be worth it to bring into their building. 615-737-1025. We'll talk Titans coming up in hour number 2 as they are out on the practice field coming up in about an hour for the first day of mandatory minicamp. Robert Saleh going to speak this morning as well. We will give you updates from that and talk about Robert Saleh as a whole. We haven't seen him coach a game yet, but you've gotten to see some of these open practices. You've gotten to hear from him. What have been the first impressions of Robert Saleh as a head football coach here in Nashville? We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Parker Kelly, not here today.
He's in spirit.
I feel like Parker Kelly has become like a punctuation mark for me because he's like, it's like the last thing that I say heading to break.
Or maybe even a question mark, if you understand that reference.
Next man up here on 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5, The Game. Jake Lyman, right now all alone in the studio. I don't know where Nick Frazier and Connor Newt have gone. Here on this Tuesday morning, second hour, here on 102.5 The Game. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Were you guys out there indulging in some more Wawa?
Maybe. I can't confirm
I don't blame you.
deny.
I don't blame you.
Nicola needed assistance.
I thought about it. I mean, the Wawa is great. I am almost through this pretzel. Got the lemonade here too. I haven't dug into the hoagie yet. I think that'll be more of a final hour type of snack.
Right there with you. I mean, I devoured the cookie and the coffee. That's unbelievable.
I'm saving it for lunch, but I'm excited.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea. I think I'm going to try and save it, for closer to lunchtime. But again, very thankful to have Wawa out here, opening in Clarksville on Thursday, 1290 Parkway Place, holding a grand opening celebration on June 18th. It's a morning full of fun Wawa events, including giveaways, free coffee, and more. Doors open at 8 a.m. with a ribbon cutting celebration at 8:30. So make sure you head up there if you're around Clarksville. Go check out Wawa. It's great. I'm so glad to have one here in Middle Tennessee. Let's talk some Titans here in hour number 2 as they kick off mandatory mini camp coming up today. About an hour away from practice, Robert Saleh going to speak shortly to the media. And with Robert Saleh, obviously, we knew a decent amount about him coming in. He'd been a head coach previously with New York, and coming in here for his second opportunity, just as we've said with Cam Ward and with Carnell Tate, and whichever way you want to take it, you can't make any big judgments off of what you're seeing from Robert Saleh as a coach in June. But I think you've gotten to see maybe some of the adjustments that he's made from his time in New York, what he's like as a coach, what some of his assistants are like out there on the field. And I'll say, I think the first impression has been solid from Robert Saleh. Obviously, we're way early in this process, but I like what I've seen from him as he's tried to build off of some of the issues that he had in New York and be better from it.
Yeah, I think the only thing you can truly judge from a guy like Robert Saleh and his staff is the character, how they carry themselves in between snaps, in between drills, just in between practices as well. I mean, Connor's been the one out there at practices, but you could probably, attest to more of this than I can. But just overall, his character on the field, how do you think he's handled himself and carried himself as a true head coach?
The common discussion among us in the media, and I think people outside the media, but mostly us when we're at practices, it's just nice to see adults on the field again.
Yep.
And that's no slight. Well, sort of it is. It's sort of a slight to Brian Callahan and the staff he assembled, but it seems like there's more accountability being held out there. I've heard more words that I can't say on the air out there in the one day I've been out there, and I'll be out there tomorrow, so I'll let you guys know if things change. But I've heard more words that we can't say on the air out on the field in one day than I have the entire last season. So it's really shows you that there's adults out there, there's maturity, and whether or not that translates to the field, we'll see. But it is nice that you at least have that to think about.
Well, yeah, and a lot of people last year were talking about the way Brian Callahan ran his offseason program and some of the decisions he made with the summer camp games and all that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of people wanted to say, oh, it's going to be okay. It's just June. And, in a lot of cases, I think that's right. But I think you can look back and say that Brian Callahan was in over his head. And with Robert Saleh, at least I don't get that impression because he's done it before. And that was why that was my number one priority for the Titans in their head coaching search was get somebody who has been a head coach before. Get somebody who can come in here and isn't going to be drinking through a fire hose. And it's like, all right, I've got to do this, 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 and this. Robert Saleh has come in, and I think there are some things that he did well while he was in New York. And I like that he's going to be calling the defense. I think his explanation for that was strong when he first came in, was that I want to feel connected to the game, and I want to, feel every single play on the defensive side of the ball. So you can see that he is making some of those adjustments from what he did in New York. And as Connor said, I think you're just seeing guys who know what they're doing out there on the field. And that starts with Robert Saleh, the coordinators, of course, Brian Daboll and Gus Bradley, and even some of the positional coaches. Like we saw Aaron Whitecotton mic'd up at one of the practices. And that's a guy that I think a lot of players want to run through a brick wall for.
I do. That guy's insane.
Right. I mean, he's like, I'm mic'd up today, but it's not going to change anything about the way I'm going to come out here. What was the word that he described his coaching style? A deranged
raccoon.
Deranged raccoon. Yeah, is what he said. I think you've got the right personalities in there on your coaching staff. Now, that doesn't necessarily lead to success. It's all got to work together, and you got to have the right players in there. But as we've talked about pretty much all offseason, it's refreshing to feel like there's some competence in that coaching staff right now that we maybe just didn't see the last few years.
And if you're a Titans fan, to me, the confidence in the staff, one in particular that's on this staff is Luke Stocker, someone who has worked his way through the ranks bottom to top, and a guy that has been familiar with this franchise before. To the fact that he's still around, along with, developing a guy like Gunnar Helm, to me, that's what I'm excited about, to know that there's still continuity from one staff to the other. And it just goes to show you that there were some bright spots with Brian Callahan in this situation. So it just makes you wonder, obviously Connor is pretty spot on, and both of you are with that assessment, but like the one guy to me that stayed around, Luke Stocker, I think that's a big thing to carry on.
Yeah, there's good coaches on every staff,
Sure.
Even bad staffs. And I think Luke Stocker, you could clearly look and say, that guy might be a rising star in the coaching industry. I think he's one of the guys that Robert Saleh has kind of alluded to of, we have succession plans in place for if Brian Daboll was to have success this year and move on. I wouldn't be shocked if Luke Stocker is like that. He has a little bit of an Arthur Smith feel to it.
I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, was Arthur Smith not a Titans coach at
He
one
was.
point, right?
He was. And it was a guy who was believed in by multiple coaching staffs. I think that really shows that you're a good coach, because a lot of coaches will come in and say, no, I want to bring in my own guys. And, I'm sorry, I'm sure you're great at what you do, but I'm building my culture here. He interviewed Luke Stocker, and he's one of what? There was maybe Bones Fossil, of course, sticked around, but I think that one's different. That's a guy he's got the pedigree around the league that I think any coach would want.
And there was proven talent last year on the roster that he said, hey, you're an all-pro,
right?
Which was Jim DK.
Right.
So, and also to add on to that, we talked about the character of Robert Saleh and how he carries himself on and off the field. That's another thing. The evaluation process, like you just alluded to be able to grab guys from the last regime and say, hey, that reflects well on me, not only the person, but on me, because that shows I am a true coach.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what this staff looks like when we actually start playing football, but I just do think the first impression has been solid. We'll continue this conversation, 615-737-1025, but I didn't want to get to Scott and Waverly's text. He says, guys, I'm really hoping the reason everybody is saying Cam doesn't look too good right now is because Saleh is building the best defense you have ever seen. Maybe that's why Cam is having a hard time completing passes in camp. I will say I don't think that's the case. First off, a lot of the key players haven't been out there very much. And also, if Cam Ward was dropping dimes all over the field, but they were getting, deflected because of a ridiculous play by a safety or a corner, I think Connor and others who are out there in practice would say that. It's like, hey, Cam made a great throw here, but an even better defensive play by Micah Robinson or something like that. When he's making inaccurate throws, it's not because the defense made a play. It's because he made an inaccurate throw. So,
contrary to what other people are telling you across the interwebs, we're out there telling you the truth. We're out there telling you what we see. And look, he's not had a perfect June so far, but guess who else did? Caleb Williams. Guess who else did? Josh Allen. Guess who else did? Drake May. All of those players have the potential to be MVP candidates. And two of them were. So it's something, yes, you can be concerned about it, but it's so overblown. So just move on.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's reason for concern, but not like panic. I think the next couple days going to be important for Cam Ward to go off into this next month before training camp on a high note and hopefully build some momentum, build some chemistry with the offense. We can get into that later this hour as well. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call, our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at 1025 The Game for live shows and exclusive content. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up here on 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you. Titans mandatory minicamp about to get underway over at Vanderbilt Health Football Center. I always want to say Sports Park because it used to be St. Thomas.
Whatever. It will always be that for me.
I know. It's taken a little bit to get adjusted to it, but whatever.
I don't even say it. If you watch my video I put out the other day, I literally just said Titan practice.
Yeah,
facility.
they're the Titans facility, and Robert Saleh getting ready to speak to the media. Practice will start in a little under an hour here, so updates coming later on this afternoon. But we're talking about Robert Saleh, some of the first impressions that he's made. The one thing that it's not a concern, but just, perks my ears up a little bit is we saw Robert Saleh get a little caught up in the weeds in New York. Like the one incident that I always remember back to is like, there's a rat in the facility and we're going to find out who it is, when there was like leaks coming out about the Jets and he wasn't happy about it. And I do worry a little bit about worrying about things that aren't football related. Like, focus on football. Like, sure, you don't want information getting out of your building, and you can talk about that privately within your building, but bring that to the media. Like, I thought that was a little bit strange. Again, it's a small thing, and I don't want people to think I'm like, oh, Saleh's a bad coach because of this. The seed oil thing was just a little strange to me, to like make a big deal out of that and like, oh, we're removing seed oils and stuff like that. I'm just like, I think there are ways to get competitive edges as a football coach. I just think like some of those things, it's just like you're getting caught in the weeds. Like, focus on the tried and true ways to build a football team. And who knows, maybe seed oils is going to end up being a huge thing for the Titans, and the injury rate will go way down or whatever it is. I feel like, again, not a concern, but just something that perked my ears up of just like, is he worrying about some things that are just a little bit too away from what the focus should be?
Well, also too, you got to remember, for him being a head coach, you got to put your stamp on the franchise. You got to put your stamp on as a head coach coming into a new job opportunity. So I think that was just his way of saying, hey, this is my team. This is what I'm choosing to do. Maybe that was the direction he was trying to go. I think the whole seed oil thing, and I'm not talking about us in this room, but I'm just saying national media as a whole heard that and they ran with it. And I think they've kind of blown that up and magnified it to the nth degree, which, makes it look like it was more of a big deal than not. Minus that, I think other things from Saleh, like you mentioned about the rats in the building thing, it was something that I think Titans fans have heard before. And that was with Mike Vrabel.
Yes. Yeah, that is true.
And I think he's even mentioned that before in New England recently. Not recently, but like last season. So I think that's something that if you're a Titans fan, it might concern you maybe. I don't know if it's concerning enough to be like, oh my goodness, but like you said, the ears perk up when you hear that.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if there's anything that you can really say one way or the other is going to impact Robert Saleh's ability to win football games as a coach that we've seen so far. But just we're getting to the end of the offseason program, and last year so many people were saying like, oh, Callahan doesn't have it, and like he's lost the locker room, and this isn't the way you're supposed to build a team. It's Robert Saleh's first offseason, so I don't think there's a lot of people just aren't talking about him that much. Right. But just based on the first impressions that we've gotten, I think there's been a lot of good, but there are also a couple things that I'm just like, hey, part of the reason I think you lost your spot in New York was just because you were not completely focused on like, hey, this is the football team. Like, let's not let the distractions get to us. Not saying seed oils is a distraction, but it's just one of those random things that I was just like, eh.
And I guess maybe to debunk that a little bit, like he was in San Francisco last year. Again, that was kind of looking back at like, what was it, the 2021 Titans, where they went through like everybody in the practice squad. They went through like 91, 93 players on the roster because everybody kept getting hurt.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same situation last year with San Francisco on the defensive side of the football. They had a rotating cast of players. Maybe that was something Saleh recognized as a defensive coordinator, saying, hey, look, maybe the diet is not what it needs to be in San Francisco. Maybe that's what led to all the injuries. So maybe that's part one of the debunking.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know.
When we go to the conversation about New York, again, it's the Big Apple. It is a big sports market city. To me, maybe he got caught up in the, tabloids of it all. Maybe that was the case. You're in Nashville now. This is the small market. This is where the national media likes to push Nashville off to the side. That's a beautiful thing. That means you can work in silence. You can be hyper focused on a lot of things here in the city, especially with your team, along with Mike Borgonzi. I mean, you have a GM tandem now where you both are on the same page and you can go forward.
And I think that's a good point too, is that the spotlight is a whole lot brighter in New York, and there are more distractions that come with that, whether that's for you or for your players. Living in New York City, there's a lot more going on. I do think you're right that maybe this is a better fit for Robert Saleh, where he can go about his business and not have to deal with those distractions because there are just less of them.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound rude to any New Yorkers out there that listen, and I know Paul's one of those New Yorkers, but imagine having Saleh has 8 kids, 9 kids, something like that.
Yeah, a lot.
Anyways, it's more than 5. Let's put it that way. Imagine raising 5 or more kids in New York City. Imagine that. There's not a big yard to play in. You're probably playing a lot of street basketball or stick baseball in the street, whatever.
I will say, I don't think he was living in like Midtown Manhattan.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying in general, it's a pretty congested city, man. Like you come to Nashville, Guess what? You're going to be living in the suburbs of the area, and you're going to have a nice yard, probably about 3 to 4 acres. I mean, probably with the cash they paid him, a little bit more than 3 to 4 acres. I don't know. It depends on whatever size it is. And they got a massive house. I know it's been put on the social media webs of it all. The guy's gonna be living lavish in Nashville.
Well, yeah, I think it's a good point that you should have to deal with less outside of football here than you did in New York,
right?
And I think maybe that's helpful for Robert Saleh. I want to see the adjustments that he's going to make, because again, it didn't end well. 20-36 is not a good record in New York. I think we've already started to see some. The first big one, of course, is that he's calling plays. We talked about that he wants to have more of a hands-on approach with the defense. And I think a big adjustment that, again, it's not all him. Mike Borgonzi's the one picking the players. But you saw when he was in New York, the offense was always the issue. The defense was always solid. The offense couldn't get going. And quarterback is a big part of that. Zach Wilson, and we don't know what Cam Ward's going to be quite yet. But picking Carnell Tate 4th overall. Again, not his choice, but I'm sure he had input on it over a guy like Arvell Reese or Sonny Styles, who could have been a game-changing Swiss Army knife player in his defense. He took the guy on offense who he feels can help his young quarterback. Again, Mike Borgonzi's pick, but I think it shows you that maybe Robert Saleh has learned that you can have great defense, and defense is important if you're going to go win a championship, but you also have to have competent offense, and that starts with investing in your young quarterback.
And to add on to that as well, Aaron Rodgers was in New York as well. And who'd they bring in when Aaron Rodgers came to be the quarterback for the Jets? Nathaniel Hackett. Those two were a 1-2 punch on offense. Again, that was more of a offense surrounded by Aaron Rodgers, and whatever Nathaniel Hackett said, it was more of like a back and forth between those two. With you having Brian Dable now as the head, excuse me, carries himself as offensive coordinator, carries himself like a head coach. You now have a coordinator that's saying, I'm calling the shots, not the quarterback saying, I'm calling the shots with these plays.
That was another thing that we've brought up before too, is that a lot of the defensive-minded head coaches love to bring up an up-and-coming offensive mind to be their OC. And he did that his first 2 years in New York with Mike LaFleur. He had been in San Francisco with him, and he said, this guy is an ascending figure. And it's been true. He's now the head coach in Arizona. But he brought him in and said, develop this young quarterback. And for Mike LaFleur, it's not something that he had been charged with doing before as the offensive coordinator. I think that's another adjustment that we've seen is, hey, I'm going to bring in somebody who has dealt with a quarterback with similar issues that Cam Ward had and Josh Allen, and who's been a respected offensive mind in this business. And yeah, we may lose him. He may end up getting a head coach job somewhere next year, but it's going to be helpful for the development of my offense this year. And that's the most important thing for Cam Ward right now.
100%. I mean, Cam needs the growth and development this season. It's almost like even Jeff Fisher mentioned this with Chase McJoe a couple weeks ago on a Thursday at the Omni. He has to relearn things now. He has to relearn basically his rookie season with, I'd say somewhat, this is me speaking now, like somewhat the same terminology from last year. It just may be the verbiage that might be a little bit different.
Yeah. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's check in on the phone lines. Julian is called in. Julian, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Hey, guys, a couple comments on Cam Ward and Robert Saleh. Everybody's talking about Cam Ward having bad practices or inconsistent practices, and the reason being that they're throwing different looks at him and, they're making things difficult for him. Well, I'm kind of tired of hearing about that, because I would think that every defensive coordinator that we play against is going to make things difficult for him. and try to give different looks. So, to me, what he's seeing here in practice, isn't going to be any different than what he's going to be seeing in the games, in my opinion. And Robert Saleh, I'm not too excited about Saleh. I know some people are optimistic, as they should be, but I don't think two things. I think Saleh didn't handle the Zach Wilson situation very well. And to me, he was absolutely starstruck when he was hanging or doing any kind of press conference with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he just seemed to be kind of with a goofy smile on his face, kind of slobbering around his mouth. He just looked like he was kind of like Minnie Pearl. I'm glad to be here. So I kind of lost a little respect for him there because he just seemed to be really starstruck with Aaron Rodgers. And I think, having said that, that kind of affected some of the things that he did or didn't do with Aaron Rodgers. So I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Julian. On the solid part of it, I don't know exactly about the starstruck part of it, but I do think that once Aaron Rodgers came in, Saleh kind of took a back seat, even though he was the head coach. He was like, this is Aaron Rodgers' team now, and we're going to build around Aaron Rodgers. And then when he gets hurt 3 plays in, it's like, what's the plan now? Because you built this whole season around Aaron Rodgers being your quarterback. On the Cam Ward stuff, I don't think the reason for his struggles is about the defense at all. We had a texter text about that. Maybe they are showing him a lot of different looks and trying to throw a bunch of stuff at him. I don't think that's the reason for his struggles. If there's any reason that you can look at and say, all right, that's a justified reason that a young quarterback would be struggling, it's that he's learning a new offense and they're throwing a lot at him offense-wise of option routes and different concepts, and he's trying to learn how that fits into the defense that he's facing. If you're looking for a reason for struggles, it would be the offensive side of the ball rather than what the defensive side of the ball is showing him.
Yeah, and I kind of look at it too from, like you mentioned, with the option routes, also with the way Cam's kind of laying the ball in the breadbasket for certain wide receivers. Is it a back shoulder throw? Is it caught in stride? Or is it, 4 or 5 yard, let's go stop, and you have to really, time out that out route. Like that, those are things that he's probably working on now. And I would say the more difficult things as a quarterback is getting the timing down with those throws. So for the people out there that are probably seeing, and Connor can, definitely help me out with the backup on this, but just the fact of Cam Ward's probably working on those things rather than really getting the true. I'm sure as a quarterback, you have to understand the concepts, which we all know. I think it's more the throws than it is anything.
Well, yeah, it's you've got a whole lot going on for Cam Ward, new pieces, and it's going to take some time. If you're looking for a reason that Cam Ward is struggling, that would be it, rather than, Robert Saleh's system is throwing him off. It would be Brian Daboll's system that's throwing him off.
It's also situationally designed. Like if they don't want him throwing deep ball passes, then they're not going to design a play where he's going to do that in a drill. There's a lot of, when I was out there the other day, it was a lot of in the middle short game stuff. Why? Because they're not in pads. They can start to phase these things in. It's called install. And we don't get a lot of access to the install just because they don't want that floating out there. And I respect that. But you can't take away from the headlines that people put out there that he's a bust. It's not true, because it's June. And, we could say that's an excuse and every quarterback does it. It's not true. They are doing with him what they expect to do with him. And that's put him in situations where he is challenged, put him in situations where he is supposed to work on these passes and on these deep throws and things like that. Has he executed that to a T? Absolutely not. But this is all part of the plan to me.
Right. This is why you have OTAs to work through these things. So
practice, not a game. It's practice. Doesn't count.
Talking about practice.
Practice?
615-737-1025 is the phone number. You can text or call if you want to join the conversation. And all of our football offseason coverage is brought to you by Tennessee Brewworks, the official craft beer of the football offseason here on ESPN 1025 The Game. Robert Saleh is at the podium right now. We will update you with any news and notes from that. Brian Daboll and Gus Bradley are also going to speak. So we will keep you updated there and continue to get ready for Titans minicamp, which starts in just a little bit over at Vanderbilt Health Football Center. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newton, next man up here on 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you. Titans minicamp getting ready to start within the next 30 minutes. Robert Saleh was just at the podium, and a couple of things that he said. He says he's learned this team will do anything he asks, but says no one really knows their football team from OTAs. I think that's a good point. That, again, I think you get a good idea during training camp of what your football team is going to be, right? Like, I think getting them in there every day and the ramp up period, and you start to see them in preseason games, I think that's where you start to learn what your football team is. But I also don't know if you even really know what your team is until October, right? Like, I think that's when you start to have an idea of, all right, this is what the team's going to look like this year, and this is who's going to be our guys. It's just such a long season as you start off-season program starts in May, and yeah, you get the little break here, but you're pretty much going all the way until January. There's such a long time to figure out what your team's going to be, and 9 OTA sessions aren't going to tell you a whole lot.
No, because you have some guys, again, voluntary OTAs, you have some guys showing up, some guys that don't. You don't know what kind of chemistry is going on with some position groups because some of those guys contain veterans, right, in those certain position groups.
Yeah.
So that is a tricky thing. But as for a guy like Robert Saleh, like, there were a few veterans that said, hey, we are going to show up for OTAs because this is a new system. This is a new offense or defense that is in this case with new coaches. You want to make sure you kind of can hit the ground running. And one of those guys to highlight would be Wan'Dale Robinson. Like, he was out there. Obviously, Cornell Tate was out there because he was a rookie. But you have those vets like even Calvin Ridley. It was on one of the team-friendly deals. You want to see what he can do under Brian Daboll on the offensive side of the football. So it makes you wonder the positives of all that. It makes you optimistic for the upcoming season. But you're right, Jake. Like the few that don't show up, it kind of messes with the feng shui of it all.
Saleh did say that there will be a few players who miss practice today, and I guess we won't really know who those are until post-practice when, all the reporters count numbers and see who's not there. But he did say attendance is going to be very good. Also made a comment on Cam Ward, says all quarterbacks miss throws. He feels Cam Ward has had an outstanding OTAs. But as he learns more of what they want, a lot gets cleaned up. Now, you got to support your quarterback for sure, right? But I think he's been maybe a little too complimentary of what Cam Ward has done. Like, I understand that the guys sitting, our media guys, TD, PK, all those guys standing out there. Now, they're not coaches. They don't know exactly what the coaching staff is asking them, but I think they're all pretty trusted football minds and know when a quarterback is playing well and when a quarterback is not playing well. I think Saleh can be complimentary of Cam while also acknowledging, like, you want to see more from him at this point in the year.
Yeah, you definitely do want to see more. It's just those comments from saying he's outstanding.
Well, yeah, and then it was like he's been great last week, and we have a really, really good quarterback. It's like 100%. You have to support your starting quarterback. There's not going to be, he's kind of sucked this week. Like, Robert Saleh can't say that, but it can be, we're working through some things. We have total confidence in Cam. Obviously, there's been some moments that I think he would want back, but we're working through it, and we've got a long way to go until we actually play football. Like, that comes across as a more genuine answer than, oh, he's been outstanding. When you have guys who, again, Shea Tierney's not coming out and saying Cam Ward has struggled in practice, but guys who we know football standing there watching it and saying that he hasn't been very good. Like, I'd like a little bit of acknowledgement of that while also realizing that it is early, right?
Isn't this what Titans fans wanted to get away from, was the over-optimistic
with
idea?
Callahan. Yeah.
So, again, maybe Robert Saleh has some battle scars from New York that he's kind of reliving at the podium. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think just give it a little bit of a grace period.
Maybe it's June.
Yeah.
Well, that could be the tag of our show of really everybody while OTAs are going on. It's June. Saleh says practice should be more competitive today with the starting secondary in place the next 2 days. So that'll be fun to see if Alontae Taylor's out there. He said Cordell Flott was going through an injury, so I'm going to say maybe he's not a full go, but I would love to see some Carnell Tate, Alontae Taylor one-on-ones the next couple of days. I think that could be fun.
Yeah, for sure. For viewing purposes online, absolutely.
Yeah.
I know.
Titans video
take
crew.
it.
There you go.
I'd be happy with it.
Yeah, Connor, you mentioned last week that in your little recap with Parker that Kevin Winston actually tackled somebody.
Yes.
I mean, that's a guy that I'm kind of excited to watch for. Like that is a player that has a lot of upside, was a projected first round talent before his little knee injury. I mean, that's a promising talent. It really is.
AGNB, baby. I mean, he's the kind of guy that has a motor. And we were kind of joking. He only has one mode, and that's violence mode. But it shows you. He takes the game seriously. He takes it intently. And, there have been a lot of Titans players and a lot of football players in general that have come through this league that don't love football. You've had a couple quarterbacks that have felt that way. Jake Locker comes to mind.
Yeah.
He didn't like football. But there are guys on this roster that I think are fired up to play for this team. Kevin Winston is one of them. Keldrick Folk is one of them. I'm excited, especially on the defensive end of the football. Those are where you're going to find those guys. It's just a matter of, can the offense get things together? And again, I think we need to get a patent on this. It's June. We'll get there.
It's June, TM.
Now, if this was like August 21st and we're having this conversation, then yeah, I'd be very concerned.
Yeah. Again, it's what we have to talk about today. So, of course, it's going to be a conversation, and we don't know what July and August are going to look like. But I think you also have to frame it within reality here of there's still 3 months to go until you actually get to see Robert Saleh coach, Cam Ward play, and the entire team out there performing. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Wesson Hermitage says, my biggest concern with Robert Saleh since we hired him was that I didn't feel like he had a strong enough backbone to hold this team accountable. I would say I'm not worried about that. Clearly, he doesn't want to do it in public or, air out dirty laundry in public, which I respect in a coach, right? But I also think you can do it in a more genuine way than just saying Cam Ward has been outstanding. You can say, yeah, we're working on a lot of stuff right now. He's got new wide receivers. He's got a new system. There's been some really good moments from him, but obviously we're trying to clean some things up. I feel like that comes off more genuine and doesn't throw Cam under the bus,
right?
Rather than just, oh, he's been outstanding, moving along. And Connor was telling us that this coaching staff doesn't have a problem holding people accountable on the football field, it doesn't seem.
No, I've heard a lot of bad words that I can't say.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. We will take your thoughts. Again, the Titans getting mandatory minicamp started today. We will have updates for you throughout the day. Right now, Bones Fossil at the podium. Scrolling through our good friend Corey Curtis's X account, and Bones Fossil says he's used the Knicks as an example for special teams, talking about the way they come back over and over. Go New York, go New York, go.
I love it.
How about that? Using basketball as a special teams analogy. Brian Dable also just commented, says they've thrown a lot at the Titans and they've seen a lot of improvement. QBs have a lot on their plate and are doing a great job. So there you go. First comment there from Brian Dable in a while here. I don't think we've heard from Brian Dable since OTAs started, if I'm not mistaken, or at least early in OTAs.
Been hitting the ground running, man.
So we will give you updates of anything else that comes at the podium. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt finishing up hour number 2 after this here on Next Man Up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt. I almost said Parker again. I'm sorry.
You're like my mother.
I have to actually look and see who's behind the board when we're mixing things up like this. I think tomorrow we might have Brando in. Yeah. I think so. So I'm excited for that. I'll have to
rotating cast of characters behind the board.
Hey, it's great. Yeah, it's next men up now.
Plural.
Next men up in the studio and behind the glass. Again, the Titans coaching staff talking at the podium right now, getting ready for mini camp. Robert Saleh did say that they're having 2 days on the field of OTAs. The third day will be a barbecue-style family gathering. So,
yes.
Welcome
to Nashville, folks. Barbecue style.
And we're not invited, unfortunately.
That's all right. We're not a part of the team, really.
Yeah. You can't say we.
Yeah.
No, in this case, you can.
We are not part of the team.
We are not.
Yeah.
But when they're on the field, they are on the field, not we.
Yeah. I didn't say it, did I?
Unless I'm on the air.
Thank you for the objectivity lessons there. That's
I would like to clap back on the Robert Stanley objectivity stance.
See, I go ahead. I will say I kind of agree with him though that when you work in this business, it does kind of
desensitize you.
It kicks the fan out of you a little bit.
I agree with that, but you are not going to take the Tennessee Titan out of Connor Newt. Maybe it'll be dwindled, and I understand what he's saying of separating the objectivity and the fan from one another, because that's very important in this business. You know that. As you work with Vandy, you know that as you work with NSC, but there's still that passion in you. And I've worked with the Predators too, not to the level he has, but I work with the Predators too. I'm still a diehard fan. So that's hard for me to wrap my head around, that you can't be somewhat of a fan. You can't show it, but you can't be a fan. That scares me. I don't want to lose that.
Well, yeah. I mean, and I think it just happens naturally sometimes because you do it. It's a job, right? Like you're trying to go do a good job. Yep. And I think naturally it just kind of leaves you a little bit. Like growing up and even my first couple of years in school, I was diehard Virginia Tech. Like I would go to every game and be locked in. If they played a football game on the road, it's like, great. And after I started calling games and then I moved here and started working with Vanderbilt, it's like, oh, Tech played today. It's like, I think that's it. Just working in this business, it just kind of happens.
That makes me sad.
I mean, from a soccer perspective, like I was never a big MLS guy. I always loved Italian soccer. That's what I grew up on.
Yeah.
So when Nashville SC became a true soccer team here, a professional team, I was like, I don't really have a true attachment minus being a local and knowing that the home team now has a team here. And when they had Gary Smith and then BJ Callahan, like I didn't really have that solid connection like a Hokie fan or whatever that may be, which is a good thing. It desensitizes you away from the team itself, but I still have a growing appreciation for the sport. Yeah. And that's what is the beauty of covering a team like that.
Right. No, I think Robbie's right. And again, Robbie, he said he's been covering the Preds for 25 years. So I'm sure that long covering the same team, it's like it does kind of beat the fan out of you a little bit, but I also see what you're saying, Connor. There is a way to still be a fan of a team while covering them objectively. Like
it's worth noting I am a lot younger than Rob.
Yes,
so that's probably
it does not have to be mutually exclusive, right? Like you can root for a team as long as you are not doing it openly in the press box.
I was about to add on that to Joe Rexroad's point. None of us are doing that, so I don't know where you're getting that information
which
from.
is something I'm going to have to learn because that's going to be hard for me this season. Yeah,
it's not too bad. You grow the appreciation for the sport.
Well, Wandale Robinson walked by me the other day, and I had to contain myself. That's a Wildcat right there.
Yeah, that is also part of it. Is like you can't be fan asking for autographs too. Like you're supposed to be.
Oh, we'll get in trouble if we do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time. Yeah.
Media credential revoked.
See ya. Again, Titans coaching staff is at the podium right now. I'm kind of just scrolling through, seeing if there's anything notable. I mentioned John Fossil said the Titans used the Knicks as an example. Apparently, they're also using Golden Tempo, the Kentucky Derby winner, on special teams, saying they were last place at one point in the race. They now use the phrase Golden Tempo when referring to the tempo their returners need to maintain. Look at Bones Fossil.
That's why he's one of the best coaches in the NFL.
Just pulling connections from everywhere. The NBA Finals, horse racing. It all rolls into one with the Tennessee Titans.
Darts is next.
Oh,
be like Luke Littler on the field.
I don't know if anybody wants a darts update real quick, but they won the PDC World Cup this past weekend.
Wow.
Luke Littler and Luke Humphreys, 1 and 2. Team England takes home the World Cup. So there you go.
There is no sad June for Nick Frazier.
No.
There's constant sports.
The only unfortunate thing is the Brisbane Broncos are not probably going to make the playoffs. So minus that, we're in good shape.
Trevor on the text line says, dang, you just made Robbie 43. Don't think quite 25 years. I did listen to it. I forgot how many years it was. Robbie can correct
Since
us
he was
if we-
18.
Since he was 18?
Yeah, and he's 33, I believe.
Okay, so 15.
Yeah.
Okay. I was a little off.
He's the same age as my brother.
Gotcha.
33, 34.
I was a little bit off there.
He's been covering the Predators longer than I've been a legal adult.
Speaking of darts, I told you I'm in a darts league.
How's that going?
3 dart out from 54 to end the match on Wednesday.
A double out?
Double out.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you need Jake Lyman to be a substitute darts player for you, he's in the rotation.
I'm horrible. Like, just got smoked in cricket. But
you play cricket?
Cricket's a darts game.
Yeah, it's a type of darts too.
I got smoked.
You go 3 at the
I was
same
about to
number.
be really impressed with you.
I got smoked in cricket, but we played 1,001 double out with the whole team to end it. I went 7-17 double 16.
Yeah, the bottom half of the board is your sweet spot.
There we go.
There you go.
I won't spend too much time on that, but anyway,
we can go full
Jake
hour
Lyman
if you
is
want.
a bottom guy. Who knew?
Brian Dable also has been asked about Cam Ward. Dable says he's not too concerned. Does want to be elite every time they step onto the field. See, like, I like that from Brian Dable of saying, I'm not concerned about it. It's early, but we strive for the best when we get onto the field. And, you know, when you're not meeting that, that means you have things to work on. I think that's a great way of putting it from Brian Dable. That he impresses me every time he steps to the podium. I know I'm not actually hearing him right now, but just like I can understand why the Giants believed in him for a while, that he could be a good head coach. And I also understand why he probably is going to be a head coach again. I do think he carries himself in a very strong way and clearly knows the offensive side of the game of football very well.
Well, it goes back to our conversation a couple segments ago about how these guys are carrying themselves off the field. And if you can carry yourself as a true, and again, we've all alluded to this, that Brian Dable carries himself like a true head coach as an OC.
Yeah.
Like that is, you're right. That's exactly what's going to get him back in the head coaching conversation for another franchise.
And it's the common theme has been among Titans coaches that they support Cam Ward. They think there have been some good things that he's done during OTAs. But again, there's a reason that you get this time. There's a reason you get 6 weeks of training camp to gear up for the season. And you hope that, I hope that today and tomorrow, and he is going to take a step forward and just get out of training camp or a mini camp on a high note, right? And have 6 weeks where you feel like you have some momentum going forward rather than, man, he had 2 really bad weeks to end there. And it's like, oh, is he going to have a really tough time in training camp? You'd like to see a step forward the next couple of days.
It's possible. I think, again, like we talked about, this is a growing process for Cam Ward to learn the verbiage, to learn the different types of, passing routes for a quarterback like that. So, it's in due time.
Brian Dable, this is from Corey Curtis too. Brian Dable says Cam can make all the throws, asked for a 4th or 5th time about accuracy and seemed like he had enough.
Again, that goes to show you they know what they have in a quarterback. Personally, listening to that and hearing that, I think, and again, you could be fed up with the conversation, understandably so if you're Brian Dable, but you definitely know what you have in a quarterback.
Yeah, and I will say, for the other side of it, being able to make all the throws and actually consistently executing it are 2 completely different things. Will Levis can make all the throws, right? He's got the arm talent to make any throw you want him to make, but he doesn't do it consistently enough, and he makes bad decisions. Cam Ward has shown he can make all the throws, but he hasn't done it consistently enough. I think you need to see that. That's why Will Levis didn't succeed. I think you need to see Cam Ward iron that out as we get towards the season. But again, still have 2 days of mini camp and then a full training camp before getting ready for year 2 under Cam Ward. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. You can text or call our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We got 1 more hour on the show. We'll continue to update you if anything comes out of Titans mini camp. I believe Gus Bradley is going to step to the podium, so we'll let you know if he says anything interesting, but also wanted to talk college football again. On3 put out a ranking of the SEC coaches. I want to look through those. Where to Josh Heupel, where to Clark Lee rank, and we'll also get Nick Frazier's World Cup update in the final hour as well. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Final hour on this Tuesday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Titans getting set to hit the field for mandatory mini camp. We'll have updates throughout the day on all three shows of anything that comes out of that. First of 2 days to wrap up the offseason program out there at Vanderbilt Health Football Center. But I did want to talk some college football here. On Three put out yesterday. This is from Chris Lowe, ranking the 16 SEC head coaches. And I think this is interesting because there are a couple that I think you expect to be at the top, but it is very close together in the middle in terms of coaches, what they've accomplished, what you think their ability is moving forward. Do you know who they have as the top ranked coach in the SEC?
I have an idea. I'm going to go with Kirby Smart.
Correct. Kirby Smart's number one. I feel like that one should be pretty easy. Multiple time national champion.
Yep.
If I'm looking correctly, no other national champions, period, on here as a head coach, at least. Number two and three are.
I'm going to go Lane Kiffin.
Kiffin is 3.
Okay. So then, who would be 2?
Dun, 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 dun.
They might be the best team in the country
Steve
this year.
Sark,
Steve
really?
Sarkisian is number 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
Number 4 is interesting, and I kind of agree with it, given his track record, but the people that might not agree with it are his own team's fan base. DeBoer is number 4.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
It's a horrible list, and you'll see why in just a second.
I'm so perplexed already at 4 because they give him the extension in Tuscaloosa, and that doesn't make any sense to me. And now they have him as a top 4. Oh, whatever.
It's 4 for the amount of losses he gets on a yearly basis.
Yeah, there you go.
I look at this and like 1, 2, 3, I think is right in
Sure.
some order, right? Smart, Sark, Kiffin, given what they've done and what their teams look like they're going to be this year, I'm fine with those 3. But 4 through 9, I think you could put in pretty much any order.
Okay.
5 is Mike Elko, which they're coming off a playoff appearance.
Respectable.
6 is Josh Heupel.
Ooh.
You think too high, too low?
I think it's too high.
I think it's a little too high.
I think 8 would be good for him.
Well, that's where Clark Lee is.
What are we doing? This list stinks.
You know who number 16 is?
Will Stein.
Will stop.
Wrong. What are we doing?
What?
The rest of the list, Eli Drinkwitz is in between Heupel and Lee at number 7. Brent Venables is number 9, which I was a little surprised by. They went to the playoff last year.
I put him in the top 5.
I know that Venables would be like, you can't just say recency bias. 1 year in the playoff means he's great, but like over Eli Drinkwitz, I think like Drinkwitz has never been in the playoff.
He never finishes ranked.
Yeah, I would
What
go
are we doing?
Venables. I would probably flip-flop Venables and Drinkwitz. John Sumrall is the highest of the first-time SEC head coaches, I guess, because like Kiffin is a new coach, but he was in the SEC before. He's at 10. Robbie Stanley's favorite, Shane Beamer's 11. Pete Golding, 12. Alex Golish, 13. Jeff Levy, 14. Silverfield, 15. Will Stein, 16.
Okay, I could get with like 10 through 16. I could get with that.
I can't.
Well, minus Will Stein.
I'd put him at 15
When it
over Silverfield.
Yeah. When it comes to the 5 through 9 conversation,
5 through 9, and even
I would-
4 through 9.
yeah, maybe even 4, but I go Brent Venables, Elko, Clark Lee, Josh Heupel, Eli Drinkwitz, and then the rest. Like, that's what I would do. Is that fair? Not fair?
Yeah, I think I might go Elko 4th.
Okay.
Me too.
But it's close. I would go, I think, Elko, DeBoer, Venables, Lee, Heupel, Drinkwitz.
Yeah.
In that 9.
Only
Like,
thing is DeBoer has a playoff win. Mike Elko doesn't.
yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So I think that's what puts him at.
And DeBoer went to a national championship with Washington. So maybe DeBoer is in the right spot at number 4. Maybe he should be there.
He's in a prove it year, though.
I think it is just like the high expectations at Alabama skew your thoughts of him because it's like, oh, well, you're the head coach of Alabama. You should be a national championship contender every year. And when they just win a playoff game and go out in the quarterfinals sad like they did against Indiana. Like, that's not good enough at Alabama, even though it's better than a lot of other SEC programs lately.
Is it really a prove it year for him after this extension?
Yeah, he did just get extended.
Like, that's what look, I'm with you, Connor. I think it is a prove it year, but with the money they gave him, I mean, the guy is as cool, calm, collected as it can be for a job security for job security purposes.
Yeah, I think that there's such a disconnect between the fan base and their expectations and the reality of modern college football. It's tough to be Nick Saban in any era of college football, but especially this one when you have more parity and you can't just stockpile 5 stars on your bench because they know that they're going to get their chance and they're going to get drafted. It's just not how it works anymore. And so I think that the fans expect whoever was following Nick Saban to be Nick Saban. It's just not going to happen.
It's a moral prove it year, I should say. I obviously with the extension, I don't think he's going anywhere. But if you go 8-4, 9-3 this year, you are basically confirming to the entire world and the entire nation of college football that Alabama is not Alabama of old.
I mean, he then, I would say not DeBoer himself, but I feel like Alabama as a football program now falls in that category of what Danny White said, expand the playoffs so we all can get in at 9-3 and 8-4. That's just a losing mentality.
They got in at 9-3 and then 12 team.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying
they were 10-2.
Oh, that's right.
I'm just saying in general,
10-3. Sorry. Yeah.
When you expand the playoff, you're going to have more cracks at the bat. I mean, that's just, it's a frustrating thing to see because, like I just said, the loser mentality. Nobody wants to have a loser mentality. It creates bad culture for sport.
Well, right. Like the goal should be to win a national championship at Alabama.
Right.
Every year. But just because you don't some years doesn't mean the coach is a failure. And so DeBoer, I can understand putting him at 4 because he had success. He's been a winner everywhere he's gone.
Right.
And just because he hasn't been in the national championship game in the first 2 years doesn't make him a bad coach. We saw last year, schools weren't afraid to fire coaches, even after giving them recent extensions, having to pay the buyout. The buyout for DeBoer would be $67.5 million.
Well, get used to saying Kalen DeBoer on the newspapers.
Yeah, I think he's sticking around at least for this year. So
there's a little bit of breaking hockey news right now.
Oh,
the Vegas Golden Knights have announced that John Tortorella will not be returning as head coach.
See, I kind of thought that might happen after the way things went down the last couple of series.
Yeah.
First off, you cost your team a 2nd-round pick because you don't want to go talk to the media. Just stupid. Then the Carter Hart stuff in the Stanley Cup final. Again, like, I don't know if Aiden Hill was going to be better, but to completely brush off the idea that you could swap goalies when Carter Hart is having a historically bad performance in the Stanley Cup finals, it's why Torts doesn't last very long wherever he goes.
It's like the old man mentality. Sticks to whatever he thinks is going to work, and it doesn't.
He's a used car salesman.
It's just like
John Calipari.
Uh-oh.
It's just ridiculous. Like he is the first goalie ever to give up 4 more goals in the first 5 games of a Stanley Cup final. And I want to say he had the lowest save percentage since 1991 in a Stanley Cup final. And he's just like, it's the stupidest question ever to ask me if we're going to switch goalies. No, it's not. When your goalie sucks, you're going to get asked if you're going to switch goalies. I think he had that job, at least for next year, in the bag. And I just think he showed his true colors of why he doesn't last very long. And Vegas said, hey, let's go find somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, Vegas has a really good team. Once again, they always find themselves in the Stanley Cup conversation. So whatever coach they're going to get next, they're probably going to be back in that Stanley Cup conversation next season. I mean,
yeah,
it's just the way their roster is structured.
Vegas
they better be. They don't have any picks.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The way their roster is
picks,
structured.
they said.
Yeah, just like the Knicks.
Just like the Knicks.
Yeah.
Just like the Rams. And they've indulged in that strategy. So breaking news there that John Tortorella not going to return to Vegas. It felt like he had that in the bag, up 2-1 in the Stanley Cup finals. And now Vegas looks to go somewhere else. Something that we haven't talked about. We can get into this quickly coming up next. Well, we can postpone our Vandy, Tennessee conversation a little bit here because I do want to ask, like, Andrew Burnett's staying, right? At this point?
This year, I think so.
Right.
To start, at least.
Okay. How do we feel about that? We can talk about that coming up next, and then we'll get back into Clark Lee and Josh Heupel and where they rank among the SEC. 615-737-1025. We'll take all of your thoughts on our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up. 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt with you. Few more segments here on the show, and we just got the news. John Tortorella not going to be back as the head coach of the Las Vegas Golden Knights, despite taking the Knights from a team that was on the borderline for making the playoffs all the way to the Stanley Cup final. And so now, in my mind, based on the fact that we haven't heard anything about Andrew Brunette, and it's been 2 weeks since Chris McFarland was introduced. That sounds right? Yeah, 2 weeks since Chris McFarland was introduced. I really don't think they're going to make a move there. And I think it makes even less sense to make a move now that Vegas is looking for a new head coach, because I think given the two opportunities and what the teams currently have, Vegas probably a more attractive destination that you'd have to compete with.
Yeah, and in the introductory press conference that even, Chris McFarland even mentioned, I think Adam was one that asked the question about roster evaluation. He said it was just too soon. Like, he's just still getting his feet under him, is what it seems like. And for the evaluation of a guy like Andrew Burnett, again, I think it's too soon. Again, fans will have the true evaluation of a guy like Andrew Burnett because they've been around him for the last couple seasons. But as for a guy like Chris McFarland, which I appreciate from a president of hockey operations, position like this, is he's trying to give the true assessment of a guy that he has not been around for a while.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I mean, I think it's an easy decision to come in and say, I don't really know this guy that well. I'm going to bring in my own guy, instead of saying, you know what, let me get a more well-rounded evaluation of what he can do while I'm in the building. And, if we get a month into the season and it's going horribly, then you can cut ties and make a decision then. But I do like that Chris McFarland's showing some restraint and not just coming in and blowing it up and saying my way or the highway. He's going to evaluate what Andrew Burnett can do. But Predemption, Johnny in Vancouver on the YouTube chat says, come on, Jake and Nick, we got to manifest it. Unless Andrew Burnett has a Jack Adams style season as Pred's bench boss, we pray to the hockey gods that Jared Bednar doesn't get extended in Denver, and then Chris McFarland picks up the phone and gets him. Yeah, I mean, that would be ideal. I believe this is the last year under contract for Jared Bednar, and expectations are different in different places, and I would think the expectation for the Avalanche is go win the Stanley Cup next year. And if they fall short of that again, who knows? Maybe there could be a reunion here in Smashville.
Now, here's a true scenario here. Let's say already in the last year of his contract, say Colorado's not what they were this past season and being the President Trophy team that they were, of just scoring over 100, well, not scoring over, but getting over 100 points in the standings that quick. What if they end up dudding halfway through the season or right before the All-Star break and say, you know what, last bit of the contract, let's cut ties. And let's say Andrew Burnett's having a decent year. What do you do?
That's tough. Like if only one of those things comes true, right? Like, obviously it makes it easy if Andrew Burnett has a bad year, Colorado disappoints, and it's an easy swap. You can make 1 for 1. But yeah, like if Andrew Burnett if the Preds are, third place in the Central and you make the playoffs, and it's like, man, Jared Bednar's out there. Chris McFarland's obviously got the ties with him, but yeah, it's interesting stuff.
I know that's a big hypothetical early on. We're not even in the next season of NHL hockey, but I just think that'd be an interesting, look at it from a wide-eyed lens.
Craig asks, any chance Bruce Cassidy is brought back by Vegas? They won't let him interview anywhere else. So what's the deal with that? Yeah, I thought that was strange that they just refuse to let him interview elsewhere. How funny would that be if they're like, all right, Bruce, we're going to fire you for the playoff run because we think Torts can get us deeper, but don't worry, we'll bring you back and you can be the head coach for the regular season again.
Some Virginia Tech stuff right there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Does he pull a Brent Pry and come back as like your assistant coach?
I mean, might as well at this point, right?
Can't interview anywhere else.
Exactly. I mean, just go back to where you're from. In this case, be Sin City. Enjoy the nice hot weather, I guess. Well, they don't really have humidity out in Vegas.
Yeah, it's a dry heat.
Dry heat, yeah.
I am okay with Andrew Burnett coming back this year. I think it makes sense for Chris McFarland to get that hands-on evaluation of him. Now, I would have totally understood if he said, yeah, I don't really like what I've seen from afar the last couple of years. You've disappointed. You've done less with more, and we're going to go find somebody else. But I kind of like the decision to see what he can do. I'm sure they're going to make some changes to the roster and maybe cut bait with some of these more expensive veteran guys. I mean, we got the draft coming up in 10 days. So we're going to get Chris McFarland's first hurdle as the president of hockey operations next week when the Preds come on the clock at number 10.
Yeah. And also too, getting back to Vegas real quick, if you're the Golden Knights, you kind of want to have a head coach in the building before the draft, right? Wouldn't you think so?
Yeah, maybe. But I don't know if that's totally necessary, just because where Vegas is, does Vegas even have a first round pick this year?
Probably not.
Because
it's my guess.
Anybody that you take isn't going to help your team this year. Most likely.
Especially that late in the draft.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to be picking somebody who's going to come in and be like, oh, he needs to fit my system to help us win a Stanley Cup this year. Like, I think you're picking for the future there. So yeah, you would like to have, like, having a GM in place is crucial for the draft. I don't know if having a head coach in place is necessary, especially for a team like Vegas.
Yeah, because that makes more sense. Because, like, if you're a scouting department for the Vegas Golden Knights, you already have a system in place of what style of players you need and also in what position groups. So that would make more sense. I think it's more the coach to just really set in stone, implement those styles of play.
Yeah, I think Vegas, they've got time now. They're the only opening left, if I'm not mistaken. I know there's some stuff going on with Mike Babcock in Edmonton that has to get sorted out, but we'll have to see how that happens. Johnny Vancouver says Vegas doesn't have a first or second rounder this year or next. So yeah, I don't know how concerned Vegas really is for the draft period. They don't even have to do much for a long time.
They're just enjoying life.
Yeah, they're just having fun. Let's see. Preds draft picks this year. I want to say it's a first, a second, and 2/3 this year for the Preds. Because I know they have the second round pick for the Golden Knights next year.
Yeah, they have a first, 2 picks. Let's see.
Okay, a first, 2 seconds,
Yep.
and 2/3 and 2/4. So this is
3/5
and 3/5,
1/6 and 1/7.
Yeah. So they're loaded up with picks for this year. Do you maybe think that they don't make all of them? Like, I know it's a little bit early to make big moves and make trades, but maybe not for a player even, but like package some picks to move back up, get back into the first round. You've got the 2 seconds, 2/3. You've got 2 seconds next year. You've got 3 seconds next year, or 3/3 next year as well. So like, I think you've got the draft capital that maybe you don't need all those players, but packaging them together to get higher quality players could be more helpful.
I think it really depends on the veteran players on this roster currently. What's the future of some of those guys? Because if it's, again, like you alluded to it at the beginning of the segment, of like a lot of these first round talents and second round talents are not going to be here for a while. So it just makes you wonder if the Preds have a true direction with their roster right now with the veteran players. Maybe you do package a few picks.
Yeah.
Maybe you trade them to somebody else. In return, you get a few current players.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That might be something to look at.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Preds have not made a move on the coaching staff. Looks like Andrew Brunette going to be back for another season behind the bench. Again, nothing confirmed there, but silence is a good thing for Andrew Brunette at this point, and it feels like he's going to be back. The news over the last few minutes is that John Tortorella will not be returning as the head coach of the Golden Knights after taking them to the Stanley Cup final as the interim coach. And we'll see what Vegas does at head coach. Again, they're not letting Bruce Cassidy interview anywhere else. We'll see what their search looks like over the next couple of weeks. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Thank you to Prudemption for helping out. Toronto has still not hired a coach yet either. So there's a couple of jobs still out there on the market.
That's a hot commodity of a job.
It is. We'll see if Austin Matthews is there moving forward. Could be a hot name on the trade market, possibly.
They go and get Gavin McKenna. I'm sure he'll be around. Right?
That is true. The draft is coming up in 10 days, and we will have coverage of that. I might try and get Max on here in the next week or so, see if he's got some insights on what the NHL draft is going to look like for the Preds.
You need to ask him about his holding capabilities for a field goal. I heard that he took his finger off the ball.
Oh,
yeah.
Like Lucy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not like that. Just
no,
like
didn't pull it? Oh, not purposely.
Yeah,
Did you fell?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Couldn't take it. High maintenance.
Did he go laces? Did he go laces out?
That I don't know.
We might need
No
some
laces
video
out?
evidence of this.
No.
Goodness.
I saw
This is why we have Nash as an all-pro holder.
Was it? Oh, it was Nash who was holding it for Willie. Okay. Yeah.
And then Willie side hugged Cool Cat. And then went all in on Nash. So we know where his priorities are.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. Lots to get to in the final couple of segments. Again, keeping an eye over on Titans minicamp. Not sure we're going to get much before we wrap up here, but make sure to keep it tuned to 1025 The Game all day once we start getting some stories coming out from Titans practice. But we do have Nick Frazier on the show, and that means we talk World Cup. It is raging on. We are almost a full week into the World Cup. We'll get Dr. Crane's thoughts on the U.S. men's national team, their big win on Friday night, and some of the other storylines around the World Cup here in 2026. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, next man up, 1025 The Game. What is this?
What is it?
I show speed.
Really?
This is horrible.
We've really come to this?
You haven't heard this?
I have
No.
not heard this.
This was years ago.
Oh, this is from like 2022?
Yeah.
Never heard this.
He's got a new one.
Hey,
It's even worse.
the only one that I recognize is Shakira.
Yeah, I was going
all
to say
right?
Waka Waka.
Not just
That
that.
sounded like
but
Fozzie Bear there, but
I'll never forget. July 9, 2006, the halftime show was Shakira with Wyclef Jean. It was the best halftime show on planet Earth. I will tell you guys, hands down. You know, Joe has mentioned before, there have been times where, in time in his passing, like, this is the best thing ever. For me, Shakira. Best halftime show on planet Earth.
I was 2. I don't remember that.
Oh, I was on the blue and black beanbag at my grandparents' house. Grabbed it from underneath the pool table. We had, broccoli, steamed broccoli with, I think, pork chops chicken marsala with pasta and what
the
else?
food has to make an appearance.
It
here.
has to. I'm sorry, it has to. And I just remember they opened up the windows in the kitchen because the smell was just so potent and there was just smoke everywhere. But it was a good smoke. It was like the marsala was cooking on the stove, and oh my goodness,
This is a core memory for you.
this is honestly might be the greatest day of my
An
life.
inside out moment.
I was
here
going to
for
say,
you.
yeah, this is an awakening for
When
Nick.
Fabio Grosso scored the game-winning penalty kick, and all the players started running from midfield over to hug him, and you just hear Fabio Caressa go, siamo noi campione del mondo. I'm like, oh my God, this is fantastic, man.
It's
So-
very rare we have a generational gap moment between us three, but I think this is one of them.
Well, we know that that Nick Frazier is an old soul at heart. So
it's just such a great moment because my brother was sitting to the left of me. My grandparents had their chairs behind me, and they were just, oh my goodness, fantastic time. That's it. That's all I'm going to say.
I love it.
Then I
I'm
ran down the
disappointed in you
street.
both.
It was pretty cool.
I'm disappointed in you. How dare you not know the horrible music that I show speed? puts
I
out
was,
there?
I was going to say, I did not know he did music. I didn't know much about him, period. But you could have given me 50 guesses of to who was singing that song, and he would not have been one of them.
D-Mace requested I play him yesterday, so that's why it's on my
Oh,
Okay.
D-Mace, I love it.
D-Mace was in charge of the playlist. It was all World Cup music from him. Big soccer guy, that one.
Is Derek Mason a big football fan?
No, I think he just likes
Just like the World Cup?
him and Adam like the part of the World Cup where you just see all these fans from other countries discovering America.
Yes.
Like
It's
Freddie.
been awesome. I was telling Joe Rexroad coming in this morning that Freddie was at the Astros-Tigers game last night. He said it first time seeing a baseball game. And I'm like, that dude is going to think Colt Keith is the greatest baseball player of all time. He hit 3 home runs last night. He hit his first home run of the season on like Saturday. He had gone 2 months without hitting a home run and hit 3 last night. I'm like, Freddie's leaving that building being like, is Colt Keith Barry Bonds?
Yeah, seriously. If I were experiencing baseball for the first time, I'd be like, getting a jersey now. I'm getting a jersey now. Guys going in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if you saw the Boston Red Sox. Scotland took over Fenway.
Yeah.
They were all over the place. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I saw there was a video of like a news reporter going around interviewing the Scottish fans. The Japanese fans are awesome
They're
too.
the best. They're so
in
good.
Houston, and they're around here.
Yes.
The one guy who was on air, and he's like, I don't speak English, but I am excited. And it was awesome.
Have you read the story about the guy that went to the Mexican restaurant?
Yes. I mean, I
got free chips and
I
was
want
just
to-
astounded.
want to believe that one was real, but that account has been posting a bunch of stuff after that makes me think it's
Yeah.
just engagement farming. But the first one was awesome of like giving me free chips. I have not earned these. They have wells of salsa.
It's unlimited, and the food hasn't even come out yet.
No, that has been the best part of this is like, I do think internationally, a lot of people like to talk down on America and oh, we're better than Americans. And then they come over here and see why we love America so much. Buc-ee's, Mexican restaurants with free chips and salsa, free refills on your soda. Like, and they're realizing, man, America is pretty great.
Yeah. It goes back to, what I'd say my ancestors firsthand, like my grandparents, they wanted to live the American dream of freedom, enjoying life to the fullest degree. And now you see all these European fans and even South American fans, even people from Asia, everybody from all over the globe coming to the United States of America and experiencing the true American dream of living life to the fullest with a smile on your face. There have been people from England that have said life in America is so calm and relaxed. I'm thinking, I don't know where you're getting the calm and relaxed part of it, but sure, if you think that's the way we live, I'm okay with that. But it's just the true American dream that I think we all need to appreciate.
I saw somebody went to like a British person went to Cane's and said, "This is the greatest chicken I've ever had in my life."
That was
and
Freddie. Freddie went to
was it
Cane's
Freddie?
too. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It's like they're experiencing all these things that I guess we take for granted, and we shouldn't.
That man Freddie got a DM. I'm so mad. I mean, how is that possible?
From Ella?
Come on, man. I spent not an arm and a leg, but I spent a good, piece of money on going to CMAs, and this guy gets a free concert.
All Freddie had to do was just tweet, "Hey, we like Ella Langley. We're driving in Alabama," and she was like, "DM me."
He's making his way through the SEC gauntlet. Like he was in Death Valley the other day, just looking at the LSU stadium.
Yeah, been to Jordan Hare.
Yeah.
He was just at Reliant in Houston. Where does Germany play next?
I believe they played their first game in Dallas.
in Houston.
In Houston.
Oh,
yeah.
Houston.
Because that's where,
Let's see. They played the Ivory Coast at Toronto.
Oh, man.
So that's a big,
kind of all over the place.
Yeah, and that is on Saturday at 3.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
that'll be a fun one.
Take a detour over here, Freddie. Well, we'd be happy to have you on.
Yeah, seriously.
And hey, anybody who's seeing games in Philadelphia or New York, go to Wawa.
That's right.
Up there. I mean, that's like the mecca of Wawa is up in the Northeast, but we got them here now. Clarksville opening on Thursday. They hooked us up. Let's talk about the actual soccer being played.
Sure.
How about the U.S. men's national team?
Wow.
I mean, I expected us to win that game, and I will say us, patriotically. I expected us to win that game against Paraguay on Friday. I did not expect it to be as dominant as it was, and it was a different style of soccer than we've seen from this team in World Cups past. I think it's a good sign of things to come, but obviously still a lot of work to do for this U.S. team if they're going to make a deep run here in the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, if we go and look at the way, the U.S. structured themselves on the pitch, they ran that 4-2-3-1, and it's something interesting we haven't seen in a while. It's Serginho Dest playing as that right attacking role, a forward role. And it's cool to see how Mauricio Pochettino has adopted that South American midfield to where it's more of that pentagon style. You have a guy centrally up top, two, center mids that are kind of falling back, the Tyler Adams and Weston McKennie's. And then they have a rotating cast of Dest and McKennie switching spots on that right flank, which again created a lot of open gaps when you're trying to beat the opposing team's defensive back line. When you have McKennie dropping deeper into the midfield, it brings up that center back or right back, or even in this case, the left back, if it's on the right side, drops more centrally, which creates that overlapping run for Serginho Dest or even for Freeman as that right back. And that we saw, I think, probably the best game we've seen out of Freeman at right back because of the open opportunities to go down that flank, and it was exposed. For a guy like Weston McKennie, the inverted runs inside, I mentioned this yesterday with Chase and Joe, the inverted runs that we've seen from that midfield, and that was my biggest concern for Mauricio Pochettino is I don't know if you have enough midfield depth to really do what you're trying to do. Because you're doing a lot of those midfield inverted overlapping runs with McKennie, you wondered if Flo Balogun's going to have to drop more centrally as more of a false nine.
Yeah.
But no, you didn't have to. And with all those extra, I guess, high press attack for the offense of the U.S. men's national team, I thought that Mauricio Pochettino did a really good job defensively on the counter press. When they lose possession, they're already suffocating Paraguay when they have the ball, which is something that we haven't seen from a U.S. team in a long, long time. I mean, I wasn't alive during the 1930s when they had their most goals ever in the World Cup, but to know that you have a guy like Flo Balogun, who's a true number 9 that you can rely on, that can be back to goal, turn his shoulder, and then just put a shot on goal, I think it's something we haven't seen for a long, long time. I think the closest thing we could say would be either Clint Dempsey or Josie Altidore, more Josie Altidore than Clint Dempsey, but it's just a fun product to watch. It really is.
Yeah, and it's a Paraguay team that had not allowed more than 2 goals in any of their World Cup qualifying games, and the U.S. puts up 4. Gio Reyna beating the buzzer at the end there. And you mentioned Flo Balogun. We told the story yesterday of why he can play for the U.S., and it's awesome that, his mom was on vacation, could not take the transatlantic flight back. So now the U.S. has an elite striker. Maybe not elite among the world, but like
I would say he's pretty elite. He plays in the first French league.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. I mean, but probably one of the best ones that the U.S. has had in a while.
100%.
You may not put him up there as one of the top ones in the entire world, but it was fun to watch. I think the most fun I've had watching a U.S. World Cup game in a long time. And we'll see Australia on Friday, 2 p.m. kick from Seattle. And I was doing the math. I want to make sure I'm right. If they win and Turkey either draws or loses, then the U.S. would clinch the group.
Correct.
Okay, sweet.
Because Turkey, again, this is kind of tying Italy into this. Their head coach is Vincenzo Montella. So Vincenzo Montella is a really, let's put it, a Catenaccio style coach, where Catenaccio in Italian, it translates to door bolt. So they like to have structurally be sound defensively.
Yeah.
They pride themselves in their midfield with Hakan Çalhanoğlu, plays for Inter Milan. And then you have Yildiz, who's a young rising talent for Juventus in Serie A. So there's a lot of Italian connections with this Turkish team. It's just a matter of, can they capitalize on those things? And they were so, I guess, because I stayed up for that 11 p.m. kickoff. And that was one thing you looked at when you watched Turkey and Australia. Australia didn't care if they were allowing pressure. The Socceroos said, we're just going to go right at you. And I would love to pronounce this guy's name for Australia. They're number 9. And I really don't want to butcher the name, but he was so fast at closing down space in the attacking third near the top of the 18, where you'd honestly, if you're a 9, you're just probably thinking, yeah, we'll let the defender get that. And then if they end up clearing the ball, we can, restructure the possession. No, when he was closing down possession in the gap there, he said, all right, I'm going to make a move, make a feint move, open up space, attack the ball, and then go right towards goal. And I just think that's something Australia has a different mindset of. When you see these European style teams, they want to say, hey, we're going to play this slow. We're going to build up possession. Australia said, screw it. We're going to go for the counterattack.
And they got the 2-0 win, 2-0 win.
Mm-hmm.
And now coming up on Friday, U.S. with an opportunity against Australia. Winner takes the driver's seat to win the group, but U.S. still in a very good spot no matter what happens to advance beyond the group stage, given the result. The 32 out of 48 teams move on out of the group.
I think the biggest concern for the U.S. on Friday, if they go with the same starting 11 that they had against Paraguay, you have to make sure Tyler Adams is not getting any sort of physical altercations or any form of...
Yeah, because he picked up yellow, right?
Yeah, that yellow card translates into this upcoming game Friday, and then it resets after that. So if you can somehow supplement Weston McKennie and another midfielder, that can work out well. It just is a matter of making sure you can keep your guys off those yellow cards, because that is a big factor in the group stage. When you miss key players like that the point differential when scoring goals, that's why I was... Now looking back on it, it was vital to get that 4th goal against Paraguay.
Yeah.
Because now you see the difference of having a 2-goal lead or a 3-goal lead or a 4-goal lead in the group stage.
Yep. No, it's huge. And, we saw the first game of the World Cup last week. Mexico and
South Africa
had 3 red cards combined. And it's like, it's not like football or, I mean, I guess basketball has suspensions based on technicals, but like, this carries over. Like if you make a mistake and get a yellow in one game, it puts you it's like you're playing with 4 fouls in the next game.
Yeah.
So have to be careful.
It's crazy looking at that Mexico-South Africa match, because they had 3, like you said, 3 red cards. If you go back and look at the last 2 World Cups, 2022, there was a 4 red cards total in the tournament. 2018, there was a total of 4 red cards in the tournament.
Yeah, and they got
now you have 3
in the first game.
So it's going to be a fun product. Again, like I said before last week, Morocco is that sleeper team. They tied with Brazil. I think Brazil is the farce football team in this case.
Well, and how about Spain and Cape Verde? We can get into that coming up next and wrap up the show. We'll talk a little World Cup. We can talk more about the Soresby situation. And again, we're keeping an eye on any news out of the Titans. And actually, there is one. The Titans made a couple of roster moves. We can talk about that to wrap up the show coming up next, too. One more segment on this Tuesday. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt wrapping up the show on this Tuesday. I was going to say, I don't think I've heard this Luke Combs song.
Great song.
It's good. I might have to, this might have to go into the playlist.
That's the thing about Luke Combs. He's got his hits, but he's got the cathartic deep cuts too. That
You have totally redeemed yourself after playing whatever that was in the last segment.
Figured you'd like that.
That one is not quite as bad as when Parker played the Applebee's Walker Hayes song. But it was close.
That one, I wanted to like rip my ears off my head. That was brutal.
Parker is out at Titans minicamp right now. Titans minicamp today and tomorrow. We'll have updates from that. The Titans actually did make a couple of moves this morning. They waived injured defensive lineman CJ Ravenel, who was one of the waiver claims at the beginning of last season, and also released center Trey Hill. The Titans signed defensive end Jalen Holmes and center Andre James. So Andre James joins that offensive line group. He's played some tackle and center in the NFL. He started 17 games in 2021, 15 in 2022, 16 in 2023, and then he started just one game last year for the Chargers. So somebody who's played at the NFL level. I wouldn't maybe say that he's in a competition with Austin Schlottmann, but probably a little bit better depth than Trey Hill at that center spot for the Titans.
And also, too, like there's a little familiarity there. And when Carmen Bracilio was in Las Vegas from 22 to 23, you bring in a guard in Andre James, who was with the Raiders from 19 to 24. So there's a little bit of continuity there.
Yes. So I saw that move. It's roster churn, right? Like it's not like, I don't think Andre James is going to be taking reps with the ones starting today, but I think he definitely adds a little bit of extra depth to that center room beyond the rookie Pat Coogan or Jackson Slater, whoever might have been backing up Austin Schlottmann.
Yeah. And I don't, like you said, not competing for a starting job, but I think it brings more competition for a guy like Coogan.
Yes.
Like you just said, like
100%.
It lights a fire under their butt.
Yep.
Like you don't have to like, oh, I'm good. I'm number 2. Like I don't got to worry. No. We're bringing somebody in, buddy.
Right. And, iron sharpens iron, all the cliches. It's good to have more bodies in that room that at least you think can be competitive. And Andre James, having been a starting center in the NFL for 3 or 4 straight years with Las Vegas, I think at least it makes you think that he's somebody who could be called upon if you're in a pinch. We were talking World Cup. Want to get your thoughts on Cape Verde, Spain yesterday.
Fantastic.
I want for most of us in studio and most people listening, I don't think we really understand the gravity, like how big of an upset was it just for Cape Verde to draw that? Can you give it to us in like college football or college basketball terms of what would this be like?
It's like the Michigan Appalachian State upset.
Okay.
That's what that is.
Wow.
A small school that obviously in this case for football purposes they won. For Cape Verde they won because they tied.
Yes, they got a point.
And not just it being a 1-1 draw, it was a 0-0 draw. So that means Spain doesn't have any points like for goal differential.
Right. Yeah.
But they each get a point. So again, that helps out with that case.
Yes. And I watched the end of that. It was about as fun as a 0-0 game can be. I thought Spain was going to score about 5 different times, and the goalie stood on his head. And then the Cape Verde had a decent shot off a corner. Like a guy got the head to the ball, just bounced it right into the goalie's hands. But as fun as a 0-0 game can be, that one was interesting to watch. I saw all of the memes, and Ian Safar was talking to me about this morning of the Frank Beamer, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest 0-0 celebration. That's basically what Cape Verde had yesterday. It's like acting like they just won the World Cup for a 0-0 tie against Spain.
Yeah, it's an interesting group. Group H is an interesting group. You have, let's see, Spain, Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia, and Uruguay. And so Uruguay, their head coach is Marco Bielsa. Everybody that is following a Premier League was former Leeds United head coach. That's a guy that demands a lot out of his players in the midfield.
Yeah.
Again, back to the Mauricio Pochettino Pentagon like structured. He expects that a lot. I mean, you have guys like Rodrigo Betancourt, who had previous stints in Serie A, now is, I believe, still with Tottenham. So you have those core pieces in your midfield that you want to be able to kind of revolve around. So Bielsa really structurally sound in the midfield. But when you have teams like Cape Verde and Saudi Arabia, again, Saudi Arabia scored a goal on them yesterday.
Yep.
That's a team that kind of like Australia in a roundabout way. They didn't really care to lose. So you're going after them offensively, everything you can. So when you absorb so much pressure, that's going to wear down your midfield a little bit, and you can't advance the ball like you normally do. So that's something to keep an eye on. But as for Cape Verde, their next match is against Uruguay. And so if they don't show up, Cape Verde might be in a little bit of a situation where they could draw again, like 1-1. And that would put them in second in those standings.
Right. And I mean, and again, when 32 out of the 48 teams advance, Cape Verde getting a result there at the very least gives them a chance. I will say, very un-American to have 4 draws yesterday in the World Cup.
Yeah, it wasn't the best of days.
I was hoping for some overtime. It's un-American to not have overtime in any of these games. No draws, no ties. That'll do it for us. Before we go, everybody can celebrate today because the Brennan Soresby saga is over. He is not playing college football this year, and that's all we wanted in the first place. So good news to start off your Tuesday. We'll be back 9 a.m. tomorrow. Chase and Big Joe are coming up next here on 102.5 The Game.